Chapter 802. The spiritual power on Tang Ao's body kept vibrating. Under this vast spiritual power, Tang Ao's robe also fluttered. Qin Yue Shuang and Huang He's eyes also focused. Qin Yue Shuang and Huang He were both afraid of each other, so they had held back in their attacks. Only when they knew that Tang Ao had unleashed the 29th Heaven Life Spirit did their expressions turn serious. The 29th Heaven Life Spirit is indeed powerful. It seems that the benefits you have obtained here are also very shocking. As Huang He spoke, he moved his body and then once again surrounded Tang Ao. After shattering Qin Yue Shuang's attack, Tang Ao did not continue to be passive, but took the initiative to attack. The Green Lotus Sword Soul blasted toward Huang He with an indomitable momentum. In an instant, thousands of sword chi crisscrossed and sword light flashed. Huang He was immediately surrounded by thousands of sharp and powerful sword chi. Huang He did not dare to be careless, and bloodlines sprayed out without hesitation, tightly wrapping the space he was in. Pooh! 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 A series of muffled sounds came out, like a sharp sword piercing through a rag. However, although Tang Ao's Green Lotus Sword Soul could cut the bloodlines, it could not penetrate them. Tang Ao's figure flashed and appeared in front of Huang He. At the moment when the Green Lotus Sword Soul cut the bloodlines, Tang Ao also punched out. Seeing Tang Ao's punch, Huang He sneered. In an instant, the bloodlines that had been resisting the Green Lotus Sword Soul suddenly shook, then rolled back and wrapped the Green Lotus Sword Soul. At the same time, countless bloodlines also entangled Tang Ao, as if they wanted to strangle Tang Ao. Even so, Tang Ao did not dodge and punched out. "You lunatic!" Seeing Tang Ao's method of exchanging injury for injury, Huang He cursed in his heart and had to recall the bloodlines to block in front of him. However, in his haste, how could Huang He possibly receive the full-powered strike that Tang Ao had been accumulating for a long time? Boom! Tang Ao's fist pierced through the layers of blood threads and landed on Huang He's body. Gotcha! Huang He's chest immediately caved in. Several of his bones were broken by Tang Ao's attack. Buffed. As Huang He retreated, he spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. Clearly, being struck by the 29th Heaven Life Spirit was not easy for him, no matter how strong he was. At this moment, Qin Yue Shuang also made her move. An incomparably sharp golden blade light flashed in the air, and when it reappeared, it pierced Tang Ao's back. Even a life soul as strong as the battle sage bone life soul of the 29th firmament was instantly shattered by the golden blade beam. However, the moment the blade beam pierced Tang Ao's back, Tang Ao disappeared from where he was. When Tang Ao's figure reappeared, blood kept flowing out of Tang Ao's left shoulder. Under the crazy healing of the Jade Bone Life Soul, the wound showed no signs of healing and blood seeped out bit by bit. Tang Ao roared and was about to pull out a golden bronze nail from his left shoulder. However, to Tang Ao's surprise, he could not pull out the bronze nail from his body. Tang Ao knew that the reason why the Jade Bone Life Soul was unable to heal his injuries was because of this copper nail. This bronze nail had sealed his vitality. No matter how hard the Jade Bone Life Soul tried, it could not break through this layer of seal. When Tang Ao and Huang He were fighting just now, he suddenly felt a cold fluctuation behind him. Without hesitation, Tang Ao dodged it. Chapter 803. Upon seeing that Tang Ao hadn't been killed by her bronze nails, Qin Yue Shuang was slightly disappointed. She had grasped the timing very well. When Tang Ao attacked Huang He and Tang Ao was restrained by Huang He's bloodlines, Qin Yue Shuang hadn't made a move. Only when Tang Ao was about to kill Huang He did Qin Yue Shuang release the bronze nails. Qin Yue Shuang believed that Tang Ao would definitely not take her attack seriously since he had the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul at the 29th firmament. However, Qin Yue Shuang didn't expect Tang Ao to be so decisive. The moment he sensed her attack, he gave up his pursuit of Huang He. In that situation, Tang Ao could have blasted Huang He's head apart with just one more strike. Qin Yue Shuang, I'll remember your life-saving grace. Huang He retreated to the side and took out an elixir from his storage ring before swallowing it. Huang He's chaotic aura quickly calmed down. The wounds on his body also healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Huang He felt helpless that Qin Yue Shuang hadn't managed to kill Tang Ao with her attack. He had deliberately left an opening for Tang Ao, and Tang Ao had indeed seized the opportunity to injure him with a punch. Although he seemed to be in danger just now, in reality, he could escape with his blood escape. If Qin Yue Shuang had been able to kill Tang Ao, he could have used blood escape to wrap up Tang Ao and escape. Unfortunately, Tang Ao had been too decisive. He hadn't fallen for the attack even under such circumstances. This made Huang He very depressed. Although Tang Ao hadn't been killed, Tang Ao had been injured by Qin Yue Shuang. This was a good thing for Huang He. Even though Tang Ao's cultivation base was not high, he had some tricks up his sleeves. Huang He was also worried that if he had the chance to kill Qin Yue Shuang, he would not be able to defeat Tang Ao. Therefore, it was good to exhaust Tang Ao now. While Huang He was healing, Tang Ao was still trying to pull out the copper nails on his body. However, this copper nail was too powerful. No matter how hard Tang Ao tried, he was unable to force this copper nail out. At this time, the two copper nails next to Qin Yue Shuang slowly emerged, and an aura locked onto Tang Ao. Xiao! Two copper nails flashed in the air, furiously shooting towards Tang Ao. This time, Tang Ao did not dare to be careless. The moment the copper nail appeared, he took out the Shinnon cauldron. Clang! Although the two copper nails hit the Shinnon cauldron at the same time, the Shinnon cauldron produced a heavy bell sound. After refining the third layer of the Shinnon cauldron's restrictions, the Shinnon cauldron's defense rose to a terrifying level. The two copper nails that could penetrate the 29th First Firmament Battle Sage Life Soul were easily blocked by the Shinnon cauldron. After the two copper nails were blocked, Huang He's blood threads began to entangle Tang Ao from all directions, as if he had already expected this to happen. Qin Yue Shuang waved the primordial chaos umbrella and released thousands of golden blade beams at Tang Ao. The Shinnon cauldron suddenly trembled before floating above Tang Ao's head steadily, like a boulder. Huang He and Qin Yue Shuang's attacks landed on the light screen emitted by the Shinnon cauldron, but they only stirred up ripples on the light screen. They were unable to attack Tang Ao. As for Qin Yue Shuang and Huang He, they were unable to attack Tang Ao, but Tang Ao would not go easy on them. Chapter 804. Roar! Tang Ao shot an arrow. The mysterious sky arrow was like a raging black dragon as it charged towards Qin Yue Shuang. The entire space trembled as an incomparably powerful surge of spiritual energy tore through the space, crushing towards Qin Yue Shuang. Lines of blood converged to form a blood web and appeared on Qin Yue Shuang's body. The lines of blood shattered inch by inch and dissipated. Then, the mysterious sky arrow hit the mixed elements umbrella without losing any momentum. After the mysterious sky arrow hit the mixed elements umbrella, it immediately dissipated. Meanwhile, Qin Yue Shuang was also blown away by this terrifying distance and crashed into a mountain wall behind her. Even with the protection of the mixed elements umbrella, Qin Yue Shuang's snow-white dress was still slightly torn. Blood seeped out of her body and dyed her snow-white dress red. The primordial sacred sky bow is indeed powerful. Qin Yue Shuang stared at the primordial sacred sky bow in Tang Ao's hands. Her beautiful eyes flashed with determination. Although her primordial chaos umbrella had both offensive and defensive capabilities, it was actually a supported treasure. Therefore, the mixed elements umbrella wasn't particularly outstanding in terms of offensive, defensive, or even supportive effects. In terms of offensive power, the mixed elements umbrella was much weaker than the primordial sacred sky bow. In terms of defensive power, the mixed elements umbrella was also inferior to Tang Ao's Shinnon cauldron. Moreover, it was rumored that the Shinnon cauldron was mainly used for alchemy. This made Qin Yueshuang speechless. In terms of supportive effects, the mixed elements umbrella couldn't compare to the mysterious clear mirror. However, these three items seemed to be on Tang Ao at the moment. It was just that Tang Ao was only using the primordial sacred sky Bao and the Shinnon cauldron. Therefore, Qin Yueshuang wasn't sure if the mysterious clear mirror was on Tang Ao. Although others said that Tang Ao was ruthless, Qin Yueshuang had interacted with Tang Ao for a period of time. Therefore, Qin Yueshuang knew that Tang Ao was a pure and kind person compared to her. Because of this, Qin Yueshuang felt that the rumor that Tang Ao killed her junior sister and took her treasure was not credible at all. But now that she was standing on the opposite side of Tang Ao, Qin Yueshuang could only believe it. That was because the Tai Qing mysterious mirror was also an extremely terrifying item. Qin Yueshuang, if you continue to hold back, the three treasures on him won't have much to do with you and me. During the battle between Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang, Huang He's injuries had completely healed. As Huang He spoke, Tang Ao drew the primordial sacred sky Bao again. However, the target of the primordial sacred sky Bao this time was not Qin Yueshuang, but Huang He. Tang Ao did not use his full strength when he shot that arrow just now. It was just to test the power of the primordial chaos umbrella. Now, Tang Ao understood that the primordial chaos umbrella looked extremely powerful, but in reality, it was only good to see but useless. Whether it was in terms of attack, defense, or other aspects, the primordial chaos umbrella was not outstanding. Such a treasure was of little value to Tang Ao. Although it was very comprehensive, it was completely useless. However, this was only the case for Tang Ao, as Tang Ao already had three powerful divine armaments. For countless people without divine armaments, the primordial chaos umbrella was also a treasure that they scrambled for. In reality, the primordial chaos umbrella was not as weak as Tang Ao had imagined. It was just that Qin Yueshuang had used her essence blood to refine the primordial chaos umbrella, causing the sacred primordial chaos umbrella to be contaminated with bad luck. In this way, Qin Yueshuang could use the primordial chaos umbrella with ease. However, she could only use about 60% of the primordial chaos umbrella's full power. Naturally, it was not a match for the primordial sacred sky Bao. Chapter 805. The spiritual power on Tang Ao's body vibrated, and the primeval sacred sky Bao in Tang Ao's hand released a terrifying aura that seemed to destroy everything. When Tang Ao's primeval sacred sky Bao locked on a Huang He, Qin Yueshuang didn't act rashly. Instead, she took the time to heal her injuries. Tang Ao was too strong, and this caused Qin Yueshuang to feel very defeated. But she had no choice but to admit that the person whom she had toyed with in the palm of her hand was much stronger than her. Qin Yueshuang had watched Tang Ao grow step by step. Judging from Tang Ao's growth speed, Tang Ao's current battle strength, and Tang Ao's talent, none of the genius disciples that Qin Yueshuang knew could be compared with Tang Ao. All the genius disciples that Qin Yueshuang knew could not be compared to Tang Ao. She was afraid that only her fiancé, Xiahou Linyuan, could be compared to Tang Ao. But what kind of person was Xiahou Linyuan, and what kind of identity did Tang Ao have? Tang Ao and Xiahou Linyuan should have had no interaction at all, but they had achieved the same amazing achievements. Just as Qin Yueshuang was in a daze, Huang He suddenly let out a miserable cry. His entire body was covered in blood as he slammed against a sturdy rock in a wretched manner. The huge rock was smashed into pieces by Huang He. The pain from the distance nearly caused Huang He to faint. However, Huang He didn't dare to lose his wits. Instead, he looked at Tang Ao. Tang Ao spat out a mouthful of blood. Just now, Huang He had indeed blocked his Shintian arrow with a talisman. However, after the arrow was shot, Tang Ao immediately rushed forward and used the Shinnon cauldron to seriously injure Huang He. Huang He was caught off guard and made up his mind. 3 blood threads as thin as hair passed through Tang Ao's body under Huang He's control. Moreover, the injury caused by Huang He's blood thread life soul was extremely slow when Tang Ao used his jade bone life soul to recover. Huang He and Qin Yueshuang looked at Tang Ao in shock. Although Tang Ao had been using his divine armament to put them at a disadvantage in the current battle, Huang He and Qin Yueshuang knew that if it weren't for their means and Qin Yueshuang's divine armament, Qin Yueshuang and Huang He would have been dead. However, Huang He and Qin Yueshuang knew that if it wasn't for the fact that they had some tricks up their sleeves and that Qin Yueshuang had a weapon of the same grade as the Shinnon Cauldron, they would have been dead by now. Even until now, Huang He was still holding back his trump cards. However, Huang He did not know if Qin Yueshuang and Tang Ao were also holding back their trump cards. His trump card could kill any one of them. Even if Tang Ao had the Shinnon Cauldron, he would be killed by the Shinnon Cauldron's recoil. However, Huang He didn't dare do so, nor was he willing to do so. At that moment, he was already severely injured. After killing Qin Yueshuang or Tang Ao, he might not be a match for either of them. From the looks of it, if he wanted to expose his trump card, Huang He would choose to kill Tang Ao. It was just that after killing Tang Ao, Huang He wasn't confident that he could deal with Qin Yueshuang. In fact, under Qin Yueshuang's primeval origin umbrella, Huang He wasn't sure if he could use his blood escape technique to escape. Qin Yueshuang had the same thoughts as Huang He. The commotion caused by the trio's battle wasn't small. Once someone noticed it, they would definitely discover the trench. In fact, Qin Yueshuang's guess was right. Because the 3 of them had caused too much of a commotion in their battle, when a martial artist passed by this region, they would be able to catch up to him. Following that, the warrior discovered the trench that constantly spewed out netherstones. After the warrior discovered it, several other warriors discovered it one after another. Chapter 806. Tang Ao, wait. I have something to say. Huang He cursed in his heart when he saw Tang Ao recklessly rushing towards him. He had never expected that Enruosu, whom he had killed in a fit of rage, would bring him so much trouble. If he had known that this would happen, he would never have admitted to killing Enruosu. However, Huang He had felt that Tang Ao would definitely die if he and Qin Yueshuang joined forces. That was why he had admitted to it without any scruples. Now, however, not only had Tang Ao not died, but he had also injured both him and Qin Yueshuang. If this continued, it was very likely that the 3 of them would end up dying here. Either that, or they would each use their own means to leave this place. However, this was definitely not what Huang He wanted to see first. Since he had come here, he was not going to go back empty-handed. Tang Ao did not immediately make a move. Tang Ao knew that if he fought desperately, Huang He would definitely die. However, judging from Huang He's performance just now, even if he fought desperately, he would most likely be seriously injured. Although Tang Ao was strong, Tang Ao did not think that he would still be a match for Qin Yueshuang. Qin Yueshuang's cultivation might not be as strong as Huang He's, but Qin Yueshuang's means were not inferior to Huang He's. Since the beginning of the battle, Tang Ao had been killed by Qin Yueshuang and Huang He twice. Of course, Qin Yueshuang's copper nails had injured Tang Ao. In his current state, Tang Ao was still confident that he could block Qin Yueshuang's copper nails. Once he was seriously injured, even the Shinnon Cauldron would not be able to block Qin Yueshuang's strange copper nails and the mixed origin umbrella. Moreover, the mixed origin umbrella could also lock onto his aura. After being seriously injured, he would not be able to escape even if he wanted to. Do you have any last words? Speak. Even though he didn't plan to attack immediately, Tang Ao's tone was still extremely cold, as if he would immediately attack Huang He at the slightest disagreement. Huang He sighed in his heart. He then looked at Tang Ao and said, Qin Yueshuang has 2 supreme treasures on her, the primordial umbrella and the soul-chasing nail. She also has many other treasures. Let's join hands and kill Qin Yueshuang. I only want the primordial umbrella. Everything else is yours. After that, we will go our separate ways. How about it? Huang He, your plan is quite good. Now that you're also heavily injured, even if senior brother Tang Ao wants to join forces, it will be with me. I have treasures on me, and you also have many good things on you. After killing you, your treasures will definitely satisfy me and senior brother Tang Ao. Or we can go all out right now and kill Tang Ao. As for the treasures on him, we'll have to rely on our own abilities. After saying that, Qin Yueshuang looked at them cautiously. At present, the three people in the trench had suffered different degrees of injuries. But in general, Huang He's injuries were the most serious. If he hadn't decisively injured Tang Ao and made Tang Ao continue to attack him without any scruples, he would have been a dead man at this moment. After Huang, he was Tang Ao. Tang Ao was injured by her soul-chasing nail, and Tang Ao still couldn't take it out until now. The one with the least injuries was Qin Yueshuang. After a short period of rest, Qin Yueshuang's injuries were no longer a problem for her. However, after Qin Yueshuang finished speaking, the three of them didn't move and just looked at the other two with vigilance. After thinking for a moment, Tang Ao said, I want to kill both of you, but I can cooperate with any one of you now. I will use the primordial sacred heavenly bow to attack with all my strength. No matter who cooperates with me, they will have to directly restrain the other party. Chapter 807. Qin Yueshuang, you're crazy. Huang Yi cursed, but his hands didn't slow down at all. An azure bead was thrown out by Huang He. This azure bead was extremely powerful. As it spun in the air, it released tens of thousands of five-color rays of light. The soul-chasing bronze nails were all knocked off when they hit the bead. The space locked by the primordial chaos umbrella was also broken by the bead. Huang He, the sea-calming pearl is indeed with you. As Qin Yueshuang spoke, the primordial chaos umbrella released thousands of golden beams that suppressed the sea-calming pearl. At that moment, there was a piercing sound as a dazzling white light tore through the space and hit the sea-calming pearl. The sea-calming pearl shook twice under the impact of the mystic heaven arrow before turning into a blue light that retreated into Huang He's body. Tang Ao's second mystic heaven arrow happened to arrive in front of Huang He at that moment. This time, Huang He couldn't dodge it and was penetrated by the mystic heaven arrow. However, Huang He's body also exploded into a bloody mist at that moment. Stop him! Upon seeing the bloody mist, Qin Yueshuang knew that Huang He hadn't been killed by Tang Ao. Instead, he had used blood escape to escape. However, not only did Tang Ao not stop Huang He from escaping, but he also immediately protected himself with the Shinon Cauldron. The moment the Shinon Cauldron protected Tang Ao, the three soul-chasing bronze nails that had landed on the ground immediately appeared in front of Tang Ao. With three clangs, the soul-chasing bronze nails hit the Shinon Cauldron. However, the force from the nails was almost twice as strong as before. Tang Ao spat out a mouthful of blood under the immense backlash. At the same time, the bronze nails that were nailed into Tang Ao's body continued to penetrate a few inches into Tang Ao's heart before being restrained by the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul. Even so, Tang Ao's aura was still chaotic. Clearly, he was severely injured. Qin Yueshuang and Tang Ao had joined hands to force Huang He to leave. Now that Huang He had left, and she had severely injured Tang Ao, Qin Yueshuang was very satisfied. Because in this state, no matter how strong Tang Ao was, no matter how powerful Tang Ao's divine weapon was, he would definitely not be a match for Qin Yueshuang. Tang Ao, you innocently killed a disciple of my Qin clan. Today is the day you repay your debt. Qin Yueshuang, you shameless bitch, how dare you say such a thing? If it wasn't for the destiny stone that I, Tang Ao, passed down, would you have awakened the destiny crepe myrtle? But so what if you've awakened the destiny crepe myrtle? You're still being stepped on by me. Facing Qin Yueshuang, Tang Ao naturally wouldn't be polite. Even though Tang Ao was severely injured, if there was only Qin Yueshuang, Tang Ao was still confident that he could kill Qin Yueshuang. You can say whatever you want. After today, There will no longer be a person named Tang Ao in this world. Qin Yueshuang's eyes turned fierce. The primordial chaos umbrellas, 10,000 golden rays gathered together, and then an extremely sharp, flying dagger slowly appeared. Tang Ao felt the aura of death from this flying dagger. Moreover, Tang Ao knew that once the flying dagger solidified, he definitely wouldn't be able to dodge it. Without any hesitation, Tang Ao drew the primordial chaos sacred sky bow again. Seeing Tang Ao draw the primordial chaos sacred sky bow, Qin Yueshuang's heart tightened. She used all her strength to solidify the primordial chaos golden dagger. However, the way she had refined the primordial chaos umbrella was wrong. It wasn't easy to use the primordial chaos golden dagger. Chapter 808. This arrow consumed almost 90% of the spirit power in Tang Ao's body. Even Tang Ao's soul power was consumed by 30%. This attack also consumed 90% of the spirit power in Qin Yueshuang's body. The primordial chaos umbrella had also consumed all the primordial chaos chi. Rumble, the space seemed to be collapsing at this moment. Bang! There were continuous explosions of spirit power in the air. Kacha. Spatial cracks appeared in the surrounding space. A blood shadow condensed into Huang He's appearance at the place where Huang He had disappeared. Seeing the scene before him, Huang He cursed. Those two madmen. Then, Huang He once again used the blood escape technique to leave. Huang He did use blood escape to escape just now, but he didn't give up. However, Huang He was unwilling to give up. Huang He knew that Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang would definitely fight. Therefore, after leaving for a while, Huang He used his blood escape technique to return. As soon as he appeared, he saw the earth-shattering collision between Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang. In such a collision, it would be difficult for the heavily injured Huang He to keep his life, let alone gain an advantage. Therefore, Huang He risked his life and used blood escape for the third time. This blood escape looked extremely powerful, but every time Huang He used it, the damage to him was immeasurable. Previously, Huang He needed 3 months to recover after using blood escape once, but he couldn't recover the 20 years of lifespan that he lost. He also obtained the Dinghai Pearl when he used blood escape last time. This time, he didn't gain any advantage, but he used blood escape 3 times in a row. This made Huang He so depressed that he almost suffered a backlash because his spirit power was not smooth. Kacha! The Shinnon Cauldron's defensive light screen was shattered by a golden saber shadow. This was the first time the Shinnon Cauldron's defensive light screen was shattered after Tang Ao obtained it. Pucci, the golden saber shadow pierced through Tang Ao's body without slowing down. In an instant, Tang Ao's face turned pale and his aura weakened. Tang Ao felt that his soul power was breaking free from his control, and his control over it was becoming weaker and weaker. Tang Ao's spiritual energy was also slowly dissipating at this moment. Tang Ao didn't have much spiritual energy left in his body, and it was about to dissipate completely. Tang Ao's consciousness gradually became drowsy. Tang Ao felt his eyelids become abnormally heavy, as if he would fall asleep at any time. Furthermore, his life force was also slowly flowing away. The Jade Bone Life Spirit was frantically replenishing Tang Ao's life force, but it was only able to slow down the process. However, it could not completely stop it. Am I going to die? Tang Ao couldn't help but wonder. But at this time, Luo Tsai's figure appeared in front of Tang Ao. Because of her peerless beauty, Luo Tsai was coveted by the disciples of Dragon Transformation Pavilion and was chased by the experts of Dragon Transformation Pavilion. Then the scene flashed, and Tang Ao saw Enruosu. Enruosu had been with him for 2 lifetimes. However, Enruosu had been sucked into an incomparably huge whirlpool in the Netherworld Sea. Another scene flashed, and his father, Tang Zhan, returned to the Tang clan. After Tang Zhan learned that he had been killed by Qin Yueshuang, he went to the Qin clan to take revenge. In the end, the Tang clan was uprooted by Qin Yueshuang. One scene after another appeared in front of Xian's eyes, and he had an extremely firm idea. He couldn't die. Tang Ao glanced at the Shinnong cauldron, which was on the verge of collapse, and then looked at the huge whirlpool in the deepest part of the trench. For some reason, Tang Ao felt a sense of life under the whirlpool. At this thought, Tang Ao didn't hesitate to lift the Shinnong cauldron and jump into the whirlpool. Chapter 809. Without the Shinnong cauldron's protection, Tang Ao's body couldn't withstand the whirlpool's attack. A powerful force surged over, wanting to crush Tang Ao into pieces in an instant. But at this moment, the chaotic hexagram mirror on Tang Ao's neck glowed brightly. The chaotic primordial energy in Tang Ao's body was completely devoured by the mirror. The bronze nails in Tang Ao's body were also forced out. A barrier of light enveloped Tang Ao as he continued to fall into the depths of the whirlpool. Creak, creak. A terrifying sound came from the barrier. This was caused by the clash between the whirlpool and the chaotic hexagram mirror. Gotcha, gotcha. This whirlpool was some kind of treasure. The barrier released by the chaotic hexagram mirror was actually cracked by the whirlpool. At this moment, the chaotic hexagram mirror seemed to be angry. An ancient and vast pressure spread out and instantly covered the entire whirlpool. Under this pressure, the whirlpool that had been spinning for tens of thousands of years seemed to be about to stop. Luckily, the chaotic hexagram mirror didn't stop the whirlpool. Tang Ao's body left the whirlpool's range and fell into a cold hall. The chaotic hexagram mirror on Tang Ao's neck seemed to have lost its luster. Clearly, it had expended a lot of energy. But Tang Ao was unconscious and didn't know what happened next. Because of the collision between Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang, the spatial turbulence of the trench's entrance was also dispersed. The moment the space turbulence disappeared, countless martialists scrambled to jump into the trench. A violent aura rushed through the crowd. After killing 3 people, it rushed to the front of the crowd. "You're courting." The fastest cultivator saw someone run in front of him and was immediately enraged. But when he saw who it was, he immediately stopped talking and didn't say the word die. The cultivator's face was red, but no one laughed at him. Instead, they felt that he had reacted quickly. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. This was because this incomparably powerful cultivator was the head disciple of the Xiahou family. The head disciple of the Xiahou family, Xiahou Quangtian. In recent years, many experts had emerged from the younger generation in the Black-Yellow continent. 10 years ago, Xiahou Linyuan had swept across the younger generation and was invincible in the same realm. 10 years later, Xiahou Quangtian was the same. He had never been defeated in the same realm. Right now, Xiahou Quangtian was already at the 5th level of the life and death realm. He was publicly recognized as the strongest person in the underworld Emperor's secret realm. Not long ago, many people had personally witnessed a life and death realm 7th level Nether Sea demonic dragon being killed by Xiahou Quangtian. The Dark Sea demonic flood dragon at the 7th layer of life and death realm would only be stronger than human warriors at the same realm. In other words, even if the current Xiahou Quangtian were to face an expert at the 7th level of the life and death realm, he would still be able to fight. Who would dare to provoke such an existence? The moment Xiahou Quangtian entered the trench, he saw the shattered plaza caused by the earth-shattering collision between Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang. In the plaza, Xiahou Quangtian saw many top-grade underworld stones. With a wave of his sleeve, Xiahou Quangtian put away all the top-grade underworld stones. The people who followed behind naturally saw Xiahou Quangtian sweep away hundreds of top-grade underworld stones, but no one dared to say a single word. After sweeping away the underworld stones, Xiahou Quangtian saw a copper nail and a woman in disheveled clothes. Seeing this woman, Xiahou Quangtian also recognized her. His big brother's fiancée, Qin Yueshuang. Thinking of this, Xiahou Quangtian took off his outer clothes and threw them onto Qin Yueshuang. He then took out a pill and fed it to Qin Yueshuang. Chapter 810. You said that Tang Ao was here before? During this period of time, Xiahou Quangtian had been frantically searching for Tang Ao. He and Tang Ao did not have any deep enmity, but as the saying goes, an innocent man is guilty of carrying a jade ring. After finding out that Tang Ao actually had 3 divine armaments on him, Xiahou Quangtian had been searching everywhere for Tang Ao. However, no matter how Xiahou Quangtian searched, he could not find Tang Ao. But now that he heard that Tang Ao had appeared here, it would be easy to find Tang Ao. In Xiahou Quangtian's opinion, Tang Ao could not have run far in such a short period of time. Qin Yueshuang seemed to understand Xiahou Quangtian's thoughts and said gently to Xiahou Quangtian, that Tang Ao is extremely cunning. He must have taken advantage of the chaos to escape in the crowd. However, he was hit by my soul-chasing copper nail. As long as I recover from my injuries, I will be able to feel him no matter where he is. All right, junior sister Yushuang, heal your injuries first, and then sense where Tang Ao is. Also, you said that the sea calming pearl is in Huang He's hands. The sea calming pearl was originally in the hands of a mysterious expert, and this person did not seem to be a martial artist from the profound Yellow Continent. Previously, Xiahou Quangtian and the other party had fought to the point where both sides were heavily injured, and they had almost died under the sea calming pearl. That was why Xiahou Quangtian was frantically searching for a suitable divine armament. Otherwise, no matter how strong he would still be suppressed by these warriors with divine armaments. Back then, although he had escaped with heavy injuries, the person who had fought with him seemed to have been ambushed by Huang He. Beneath the whirlpool of the trench was a cold and dark plaza. In the distance, there was a palace that was glowing with a dark light. This palace was very eerie, and just looking at it would cause one's hair to stand on end. After an unknown period of time, Tang Ao, who had fallen here, woke up. When Tang Ao woke up, he found himself lying on an ice-cold plaza. Above his head, there was a huge whirlpool spinning without changing for 10,000 years. There was a special suction force coming from the vortex, sucking in a special aura in this space. A blue light flashed in Tang Ao's eyes. Then, Tang Ao was shocked to discover that the huge vortex was absorbing a purple stream of air that was invisible to the naked eye into the vortex. As this purple stream of air continued to gather, it formed nether stones of different grades. Then, these nether stones were sprayed out by the vortex. This huge whirlpool was doing this over and over again. This whirlpool seemed to have been purposely set up here to refine nether stones for the outside world. Tang Ao did not immediately walk around in this space. Instead, he continued to observe his surroundings. Tang Ao saw the dark palace not far away, and there seemed to be something in the palace that was calling out to Tang Ao. Tang Ao smiled casually. Although this scene was a little horrifying, Tang Ao didn't care. Tang Ao took out a few elixirs from his storage ring and swallowed them, then quietly adjusted his breathing. His injuries were too serious this time. He had to recover first before considering anything else. After Tang Ao took the initiative to control the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul to heal his injuries, Tang Ao's injuries recovered extremely quickly. Due to the soul-chasing bronze nail, the wounds that the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul couldn't heal were now easily healed by the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul. However, what puzzled Tang Ao was that Tang Ao couldn't figure out how he had forced the soul-chasing bronze nail out of his body. Chapter 811. After recovering from his injuries, Tang Ao headed straight for the dark hall in the distance. This space was incomparably dark, and the hall in the distance didn't have a single trace of light. Although he had yet to enter the main hall, Tang Ao could feel a familiar aura coming from it. This aura was similar to the aura of the Shinnong Emperor's palace. Tang Ao vaguely knew where this place was. According to the Shinnong Emperor, 5 great emperors had fallen in this space, and these 5 great emperors had left behind their inheritances. The Shinnong Emperor's inheritance was obtained by Tang Ao, and the inheritance left behind by Empress Yulong was obtained by Tang Yu. Other than the Shinong Emperor and Empress Yulong, the other three great emperors were Emperor Hao Tian, Empress Si Wei, and Emperor Hades. Tang Ao had previously come across a dilapidated ruin, but Tang Ao was too anxious to investigate it. Now that Tang Ao thought about it, the remnant that he had taken out had this indistinct sword intent. It should be the remnant of the clear heavenly emperor's inheritance. After everything here was settled, Tang Ao decided to go back and take a look. But what Tang Ao didn't know was that Lin Yuten had already obtained Emperor Hao Tian's inheritance. Back when Tang Ao left, Lin Yuten also went there. Under a coincidence, Lin Yuten received Emperor Hao Tian's inheritance. Looking at the palace in front of him, Tang Ao guessed that this was where Emperor Hades' inheritance was. Only with Emperor Hades' inheritance would there be so much netherworld energy. Even if this wasn't Emperor Hades' inheritance, this place must be closely related to Emperor Hades. After taking out the Shinong Cauldron, Tang Ao walked straight towards this palace. Although this palace was strange, Tang Ao didn't feel any danger. Or rather, the owner of this palace felt that any danger was meaningless to someone who could pass through the whirlpool. More and more people arrived at the plaza below the trench. Fortunately, this place was extremely spacious. Even with more than 2,000 people in the square, it didn't seem crowded at all. The reason why everyone was gathered here was naturally because the whirlpool at the bottom of the sea was continuously producing underworld stones. After such a long time, the netherworld stones in the netherworld sea had all been plundered. When they were at the end of their rope, they didn't expect to find this trench that continuously spewed out netherworld stones. Whoosh! A whistling sound rang out, and a purplish-black top-grade netherstone flew out from the whirlpool. Upon seeing the peak-grade underworld stone, a cultivator stretched out his hand to grab it without hesitation. Seeing someone make a move, how could everyone hesitate? In an instant, 4 or 5 cultivators followed the person who made the first move to grab the peak-grade underworld stone. However, to everyone's surprise, the moment the first person touched the underworld stone, his figure strangely disappeared. Although the rest of them were puzzled, they still grabbed at the top-grade netherstone. The second martial artist who made a move immediately grabbed the top-grade netherstone. However, before he could store the top-grade netherstone in his storage ring, an extremely sharp sword light slashed him into 2 halves. As for the other martial artists who were closer, they were also killed by the martial artists behind them without hesitation. Following that, a sword light flashed, and a black-robed martial artist with a long sword on his back appeared in front of everyone. After the black-robed martial artist appeared, he grabbed the peak-grade underworld stone and kept it. Chapter 8:12. Although the nether chi that entered Tang Ao's body was extremely powerful, it was still a type of Yuan chi. After Tang Ao used the ancient God moving sky technique, the nether chi that entered Tang Ao's body immediately turned into strands of pure spiritual power that flowed through Tang Ao's meridians. After one cycle, this pure and vast spiritual power rushed into Tang Ao's sea of soul. Tang Ao looked inside and discovered that the moment the nether chi entered his sea of soul, it would immediately be assimilated by the soul power in his sea of soul. However, as the pure spiritual power continued to rush into his sea of soul, some spiritual chi liquid droplets gradually gathered in his sea of soul. Seeing this, Tang Ao's heart shook. Immediately, Tang Ao realized that this was an opportunity of heaven and earth. Tang Ao immediately sat down cross-legged and started to use the ancient God moving sky technique to absorb and refine the nether chi. The nether chi here was extremely rich, as if it was inexhaustible. No matter how much Tang Ao absorbed and refined the nether chi here would not become thin. Under the full power of the ancient God moving sky technique, Tang Ao swept away the nether chi like a whale sucking in water. Under Tang Ao's full power cultivation, more and more spiritual chi liquid droplets gathered in his sea of soul. Gradually, they formed a small pond. Although the aura in his sea of soul was still assimilating the spiritual chi liquid droplets, the speed of assimilation was far slower than the speed of refining spiritual power. As time passed, the size of the small pond formed by the spiritual chi liquid droplets increased, and there was a faint trend of it developing into a lake. Tang Ao knew that although he was only at the first level of life and death realm, his soul power was not inferior to that of an ordinary fifth-level life and death realm warrior. However, the spiritual power in his body was only equivalent to that of a second-level life and death realm warrior. If his spiritual power could reach the same level as his soul power, then Tang Ao would be able to sweep away all warriors below the fifth-level life and death realm. Tang Ao had such an idea before, but Tang Ao felt that it was impossible to realize, so Tang Ao didn't think much about it. But now, Tang Ao's idea was obviously going to come true. There was an endless supply of netherworld energy here, and he also had a domineering technique like the ancient god moving sky technique. As long as he continued to absorb and refine the nether aura, convert it into spiritual energy and store it. Soon, it would not be impossible to form a spiritual sea in his body that was equivalent to his soul sea. Above the whirlpool, everyone was still fighting. Situ Jian, could it be that all the supreme-grade netherstones belonged to you alone? The one who spoke was a white-clothed young man. Tang Ao recognized this white-clothed young man, and the two of them had even exchanged blows once before. This was because this person was Bai Zhanyuan from the Bai family. Bai Zhanyuan's current cultivation level had already risen to the third level of the life and death realm. This cultivation level was already considered not bad here. However, the person who had been fighting Situ Jian was a fifth-level life and death realm warrior. His cultivation level was 2 small levels higher than Bai Zhanyuan's, so Bai Zhanyuan didn't dare to directly fall out with Situ Jian. Bai Zhanyuan was rather depressed. He had originally thought that he had obtained many benefits in the underworld Emperor Mountain Range. However, after knowing about the spirit transforming tower in the underworld Emperor Mountain Range, Bai Zhanyuan didn't think that way anymore. This was because Murong Xiao, who had been to the spirit transforming tower, was also at the fifth-level life and death realm. Previously, he had been suppressing Murong Xiao in every aspect, but because he had missed the spirit-transforming tower, he was actually overtaken by Murong Xiao. It was said that Murong Xiao and the others had entered the heritage site of the Shinnong Emperor. Back then, he also knew that a heritage site had been discovered in the underworld Emperor Mountain Range, but he didn't pay much attention to it. Chapter 8:13. Tang Ao didn't lose out to you and Huang when he was at the first level of the life and death realm. In the end, he was able to escape after a head-on clash with you while heavily injured, and the place he escaped to was under that whirlpool. Xiahou Quantian asked Qin Yueshuang 3 questions in a row because Qin Yueshuang's words were simply too inconceivable. Qin Yueshuang nodded her head. Tang Ao must have some big secret on him. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be able to do it to this extent. The Shinnong Cauldron was the legendary treasure of the Shinnong Emperor. Tang Ao's arrival at the Shinnong Cauldron at least meant that Tang Ao had already obtained the inheritance of the Shinnong Emperor. Rumor has it that the Shinnong Emperor is a Tier 9 Pill Emperor, and the most powerful alchemist in the various sects is only a Tier 5 alchemist. Originally, Qin Yueshuang wanted to monopolize Tang Ao's belongings, but after witnessing Tang Ao's methods, Qin Yueshuang knew that she was dreaming a little too much. This time, even with her and Huang He working together, they were still unable to kill Tang Ao. On the contrary, both she and Huang He were heavily injured by Tang Ao. If she went to find Tang Ao by herself, then she wouldn't be going to kill Tang Ao to steal his treasures, but to deliver them to Tang Ao. Although Qin Yueshuang was confident that she could kill Tang Ao after using all her trump cards, who knew if Tang Ao had any trump cards? In that case, we can go down to the bottom of the whirlpool to see if Tang Ao is down there. It's just that the whirlpool is a bit powerful. Other than your primordial umbrella, there doesn't seem to be any treasure that could defend against it. Xiao Guangtian said after thinking for a moment. Once I recover from my injuries, under the protection of the primordial umbrella, it shouldn't be a problem for me to go down into the whirlpool. But other than that, we also need to find an expert who is proficient in the power of space to prevent Tang Ao from using an escape technique after we go down. Qin Yueshuang had thought it through thoroughly. Even though she had never seen Tang Ao use an escape technique before, Qin Yueshuang had taken this into consideration. This is difficult. Among the people I know, there are no experts who are proficient in spatial energy. Xiao Guangtian also agreed with Qin Yueshuang's idea, but there was no one in the Xiao family who was proficient in spatial energy, and there was no one among his good friends who was proficient in spatial energy. Qin Yueshuang seemed to have been waiting for Xiao Guangtian to say these words. After Xiao Guangtian finished speaking, Qin Yueshuang immediately said, "My heavenly star's sacred sex eldest senior brother, Qi Xingzi, is proficient in spatial sealing power. With his help, Tang Ao will not be able to escape even if he has wings." Right now, Tang Ao had entered a strange state. In this state, Tang Ao's consciousness was somewhat empty, but the speed at which Tang Ao absorbed and refined the nether aura had reached an abnormally shocking level. If an ordinary person were to absorb and refine the netherworld aura like this person, they would have long been corroded by the netherworld aura and turned into a pool of blood. However, it was different for Tang Ao. Even though Tang Ao was absorbing nether energy recklessly, no matter how much nether energy Tang Ao absorbed, the ancient god moving sky technique could perfectly refine the nether energy into pure spiritual power. At this moment, within Tang Ao's body, his soul power was still condensed into a boundless ocean, but Tang Ao's spiritual power had shockingly formed a lake. Furthermore, the lake was still growing, and there were faint signs of it catching up to the soul sea. Although this lake was still a small in front of the vast soul sea, as the spirit chi liquid droplets continued to gather, the lake became bigger and bigger. Chapter 8:14. On the path of cultivation, talent and hard work were admittedly important, but opportunities were equally important. If Tang Ao hadn't risked his life to escape here, how could he have had such an opportunity? Tang Ao had a premonition that after forming a spirit sea, he would certainly reach a higher level in the future. If Tang Ao had been a little worried about whether he would be able to cultivate to the astral reaching realm in this life, then Tang Ao now had the answer in his heart. In this life, Tang Ao would not only be able to cultivate to the astral reaching realm, but he might even be able to surpass it. The astral reaching realm was not the end of the martial Tao. Shennong Emperor and Emperor Yulong were all experts above the astral reaching realm. According to Shennong Emperor, his cultivation base had reached the chaotic sky realm, which was the realm above the astral reaching realm. While Tang Ao was crazily absorbing the nether chi, a will suddenly appeared on Tang Ao's body. Subsequently, Tang Ao shockingly discovered that his soul had been brought to a special space. This space was incomparably dark, but not far from Tang Ao was a throne. On the throne sat a middle-aged man, and on both sides of him were two dark blue soul lamps. Sensing the powerful aura coming from the middle-aged man, Tang Ao already knew who he was. The man in dark blue robes before him was the master of the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. Underworld Emperor. Junior Tang Ao greets Underworld Emperor and greets Senior Underworld Emperor on behalf of my master, Shennong Emperor. Tang Ao cupped his fists and said to Underworld Emperor, "Hee, I wasn't afraid of Shennong Emperor when he was alive. Now that he has fallen, why should I be afraid? You purposely mentioned Shennong Emperor because you're afraid I'll kill you, right?" Underworld Emperor's face was expressionless as he spoke with an indifferent voice. Tang Ao didn't expect his little trick to be seen through by Underworld Emperor. Tang Ao had only come to this space with his soul power. Apart from Tang Ao's own soul, not even Primal Chaos 6 Light, Realm Tang Ao, could sense it. The Underworld Emperor in front of Tang Ao was different from Shinong Emperor and Emperor Yulong. Be it Shinong Emperor or Emperor Yulong, both were only remnants of a soul. However, Tang Ao could clearly sense that the underworld emperor in front of him was not a remnant soul, but a soul. The reason why Tang Ao had such powerful soul power was because of Tang Ao of soul. Tang Ao's soul strength was only equivalent to a second or third layer life and death realm martial artist's soul strength. Tang Ao did not think that with his soul power, he would be able to compete with the soul power of warriors above the astral reaching realm. Underworld Tion's Ao spirit underworld. In such a space, Underworld Emperor was the ruler of heaven and earth. It was as if a single thought from Underworld Emperor could turn him into ashes. Seeing that Tang Ao didn't speak, Underworld Emperor continued, "Although my soul still exists, I can't leave this place. As soon as I leave, I'll be sensed by an extremely powerful opponent. Although I'm in soul form, dealing with an astral-reaching martial artist is no different from squashing an ant. However, my opponent is a peak chaotic heaven realm existence. After so many years, I'm afraid he's already crossed the chaotic heaven realm." Underworld Emperor's voice was indifferent, but Tang Ao's heart was filled with raging waves. Above chaotic heaven realm, the realm after astral reaching realm was called Yin Yang realm, and after Yin Yang realm was chaotic heaven realm. As long as one's cultivation base reached chaotic heaven realm, one could be called a great emperor expert. An underworld emperor's opponent was an existence above chaotic heaven realm. Chapter 8:15. Senior Ming Di. May I know what's above the turbid heaven realm? Although Tang Ao knew that he was still a long way from reaching that level, that didn't stop Tang Ao from learning about the pinnacle of existence in this world. The realm above the turbid heaven realm is called the Tao Sovereign Realm. In my era, there were 3 Tao Sovereigns. My opponent and I were the strongest people below the Tao Sovereign Realm, and we were the closest to the Tao Sovereign Realm. It's just that I was plotted against by him and foreign experts back then, and I died. He must have broken through to the Tao Sovereign Realm after tens of thousands of years. I'm telling you all this because you're qualified to receive my inheritance now that you're here. Your 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body is a part of my bloodline. In a way, you could be considered my descendant. Tang Ao was dumbfounded. His 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body physique was evolved from the hidden jade in stone physique. Previously, Tang Ao thought that his 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body physique was unique in this world. But now, Netherworld Emperor said that the 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body physique was his bloodline inheritance. You don't have to be surprised. After tens of thousands of years, my bloodline has become extremely thin. In fact, many of my descendants have degenerated into the hidden jade in stone body and some other unranked physiques. The hidden jade in stone body was an unranked physique. If Ming Di's words made it to the black-yellow continent, many people's jaws would drop. But on second thought, Tang Ao felt that Ming Di was right. Tang Ao was well aware of the difference between the hidden jade in stone body and the 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body. The hidden jade in stone body and the 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body were worlds apart. Although you have the 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body, it's not complete. Within the 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body, the spirit C gathers Yin and Yang. You only have a Yin spirit C and not a Yang spirit C. You noticed it too. Hearing Ming Di's words, Tang Ao began to believe him. He was indeed one of Ming Di's descendants, which meant that Ming Di was indeed his ancestor. I wonder who Ancestor's enemy is? Tang Ao didn't continue to address Ming Di as senior, because Tang Ao didn't think it was shameful to be Ming Di's descendant. If Ming Di was still alive, Tang Ao would be able to use his name to do whatever he wanted. Ming Di was one of the 2 strongest people below the Tao Master. There were only 3 Tao Masters in all the realms, which meant that no one could defeat Tang Ao except for the Tao Master and the other person who was as famous as Ming Di. However, this was something that Tang Ao could only think about in his heart. Putting aside the fact that this ancestor of his had fallen countless years ago, Tang Ao believed that only by being strong could one gain a foothold. Emperor Ming didn't directly reveal his enemy. Instead, he asked, "Do you know why my enemy wants to deal with me, even going so far as to collude with foreign experts to ambush me?" Tang Ao shook his head. This was clearly not something that Tang Ao could know. "Because he covets my 9 dragons Emperor's jade body. Rumor has it that there's a person whose cultivation is above the Tao Master level. And this person has the 9 dragons Emperor's jade body constitution. I don't know much about this legend, and even I don't believe it. But I don't know why, but my enemy believes it and wants to take my 9 dragons Emperor's jade body for himself." Chapter 8:16. Seeing that Tang Ao was earnestly listening to him, Emperor Ming continued, "My opponent is the Penglai realm's magnetism realm lord. At that time, magnetism and I were the strongest under Tao sovereigns, and we both had the possibility of becoming Tao sovereigns. Now that I've been dead for so long, magnetism must have already become a Tao sovereign. I'll give you my inheritance, but after accepting it, as long as you use 9 dragon Emperor's jade body in front of magnetism, magnetism will surely sense it. Moreover, although this place is extremely far from Penglai realm, magnetism will surely sense it when you accept my inheritance. Back then, a strand of my soul was severed by magnetism. After I give my inheritance to you, I'll enter reincarnation. After my reincarnation, that strand of soul will turn into nothingness. At that time, magnetism will surely know that I've found an inheritor. Do you still dare to accept my inheritance?" After saying these words, Emperor Ming stared straight at Tang Ao, as if he wanted to see through Tang Ao. Tang Ao's gaze also turned resolute. Even if he didn't accept the inheritance, if magnetism had designs on 9 dragon Emperor's jade body, it would surely find him. Tang Ao hadn't even reached the astral reaching realm, so how could he contend against magnetism? Moreover, even if Tang Ao cultivated to the astral reaching realm, he still wouldn't be magnetism's opponent. Regardless of whether Tang Ao accepted Emperor Ming's inheritance or not, he was already standing on the opposite side of magnetism. Accepting Emperor Ming's inheritance might give him a chance at survival. After all, at his peak, Emperor Ming was in existence on par with magnetism. Even magnetism had to borrow the help of foreign experts to deal with Emperor Ming. Moreover, it was only under the condition of a sneak attack. "I'm willing to accept the inheritance." Without any superfluous words, Tang Ao resolutely said. The path of cultivation was fraught with difficulties. Only by facing the difficulties head-on could one become a true expert. And Tang Ao was undoubtedly a person who would aspire to the top of the ranks of experts. Although Tang Ao's current cultivation base wasn't high, Tang Ao had the determination to become a peerless expert. "All right, I'll pass the inheritance to you. I believe it won't bring disgrace to my name. Don't worry, as long as you persevere for 10,000 years, I will be able to reincarnate successfully. If you can persevere for 100,000 years, I will definitely become a Tao Master." Ming Di suddenly smiled. "I've underestimated you. If you haven't become a Tao Master in 100,000 years, you won't be worthy of my inheritance." As soon as the Shinong Emperor finished speaking, an incomparably vast, dark purple divine light surged into Tang Ao's body. This divine light seemed to descend from the heavens, coming from the endless blue dome of heaven. This divine light contained all of Netherworld Emperor's cultivation experiences, cultivation techniques, martial techniques, secret arts, divine abilities. In addition to these cultivation experiences, Tang Ao also felt an extremely vast and majestic aura. This aura was ice-cold, causing one's heart to tremble uncontrollably. However, his strength gave rise to a feeling that it was impossible to resist. It was as if, in the face of this aura, they would forever be ants. At this time, Emperor Ming's voice rang out in Tang Ao's mind. "This is my remaining power, also known as Emperor Ming's will. This power can allow you to transcend the boundaries of the boundless world and reach the 36th heaven. In the 36th heaven, There's a life spirit known as the underworld life spirit. After communicating with this life spirit, you will be able to use the power of the underworld. Although your current cultivation base isn't high, as long as you can communicate with this life spirit, you'll be able to use the power of the underworld to a certain extent. Chapter 8:17. Guard your mind. Otherwise, your soul will be crushed by my will. Mingdi's voice suddenly rang out in Tang Ao's ears. Tang Ao roared, his eyes filled with determination. Tang Ao took a deep breath and sat down cross-legged. He closed his eyes and used Mingdi's powerful will to communicate with the vast thousand realms once more. But what surprised Tang Ao was that he couldn't communicate with the vast thousand realms this time. Or rather, he couldn't enter the vast thousand realms. This little bit of soul power isn't enough. Gather all your soul power. Upon hearing Mingdi's words, Tang Ao immediately gathered the soul power in his soul sea. His mind was focused on nothing else as he slowly gathered all the soul power in his body. At this time, Tang Ao's consciousness arrived in front of a door shrouded in mist. An illusory figure slowly materialized in front of the door. Tang Ao knew that this figure was his soul. Soul power continued to flow in, and the illusory figure of his soul also gradually materialized. The aura of this door gave Tang Ao a familiar feeling. This aura was the aura of the vast thousand realms. But what puzzled Tang Ao was that he had never seen this door in the vast thousand realms before. He had been to the vast thousand realms many times, but Tang Ao had never seen this door before. The underworld fate soul is behind this door. Are you ready? Mingdi's voice rang out in Tang Ao's mind once more. If the underworld fate soul was behind this door, didn't that mean that this was the 36 levels of heaven? Tang Ao's heart skipped a beat at this thought. Curious, Tang Ao looked around. There were many doors filled with such a majestic aura. It was as if each of the 36 levels of heaven fate souls had its own independent space. Senior Mingdi, this is the 36 levels of heaven. Tang Ao knew that there were 36 levels of heaven in the vast thousand realms. But even Tang Ao had only managed to reach the 29 levels of heaven in his previous life. Tang Ao had challenged the 30th heavenly layer, but the moment Tang Ao's soul stepped into the 30th heavenly layer, it would be crushed into pieces by the vast laws of heaven and earth. That's right. This is the 36th heaven of the great thousand world. The reason why you can't feel the suppression of the laws of heaven and earth is because the laws of this space belong to the laws of the netherworld. I once controlled him. Although I have fallen, I can still interfere with him. There's not much time left. Whether or not you can communicate with the underworld life spirit will depend on your luck. As soon as Ming Di finished speaking, a majestic energy surged into Tang Ao's body. The door in front of Tang Ao seemed to sense something and slowly opened. Tang Ao did not hesitate. He took a step forward and entered the door. Following that, the scenery around Tang Ao immediately changed. Tang Ao saw that the surrounding space was completely pitch black. Furthermore, this pitch black space was incomparably vast. Even with Tang Ao's tyrannical soul power, he couldn't sweep to the edge of this space. Not only was this space dark, it was also extremely spacious. Suddenly, Tang Ao saw a trace of light in an extremely distant place. In this incomparably dark space, this trace of light was extremely conspicuous, even though it was weak. When he saw this trace of light, Tang Ao's figure flickered as he sprinted towards the light. But this trace of light seemed to be too far away from Tang Ao. No matter how hard Tang Ao tried, he couldn't reach it. But how strong was Tang Ao's will? He naturally wouldn't give up just because of this. Tang Ao persistently sprinted through this space. 1 day, 2 days, 1 year, 2 years. Chapter 8:18. Senior Underworld Emperor. How do I communicate with the Underworld Emperor's fate soul? Tang Ao asked Underworld Emperor. However, after Tang Ao entered this space, his connection with Underworld Emperor seemed to have been cut off. because after Tang Ao asked, no one answered him. Looking at the flickering blue light in the distance, Tang Ao was very unwilling. This time, with the help of the ancient powerhouse, Underworld Emperor, he was able to come to the 36th layer of heaven to comprehend the fate spirit at the life and death realm. This was a huge opportunity for him. If he failed to communicate with the underworld fate spirit, he didn't know when he would come to the 36th layer of heaven again. Even if he could wait this long, the underworld fate soul might not wait for him. From the heaven evolution record, Tang Ao knew that the fate soul of the 36 heavens was different from the other heavens. The fate soul of the 36 heavens was unique. Once it was communicated with, no one else would be able to communicate with it before that person died. There are countless experts in this world, and being able to come to the 36 heavens was a stroke of luck. If he couldn't communicate with the fate soul of the 36 heavens, it was very likely that the fate soul of the 36 heavens wouldn't belong to him. No! Tang Ao faced the sky and roared, once again stubbornly running. No matter what, he had to communicate with his fate soul. In his previous life, he was a peak astral-reaching 9th level expert, but in this life he was only a 1st level life and death ant. Moreover, what was different from his previous life was that his cultivation base was powerful, but he was all alone. But in this life, he had too many fetters. Luo Cai and Ruo Su, Tang He, Suning, one figure after another flashed in front of Tang Ao, and Tang Ao's will became more and more resolute. As long as he was powerful enough, he could protect the people around him and survive in this world where experts were as common as clouds. Therefore, he had to become stronger. Awakening the 36 heavens' powerful fate soul would be a flight of stairs on his path to becoming an expert. At this moment, Tang Ao's obsession became extremely frightening. At this time, there was nothing else in Tang Ao's eyes except the blue light of doubt in the distance. Tang Ao entered an ethereal state. In this state, the unreachable blue light suddenly appeared in front of Tang Ao. Without any hesitation, Tang Ao extended his hand. Buzz! At the moment of contact, mysterious ripples appeared in the space. Tang Ao's mind seemed to have established some kind of connection with this blue light at this moment. The dark blue light flashed and disappeared into Tang Ao's body. The moment the blue light disappeared, the space shattered inch by inch, and Tang Ao's soul returned to his body. An incomparably vast divine light that carried the aura of the netherworld suddenly descended upon the netherworld sea. The stream of light pierced through the seawater and the huge whirlpool under the trench, arriving above Tang Ao's head in a flash. Roar! The divine light roared and rushed down, then poured into Tang Ao's body. As for the blue light that Tang Ao had previously communicated with, it appeared on the first Jade platform of the 9 Dragon Emperor's Jade platform. It was like a king overlooking all the life souls in the Soul Sea. Tang Ao had caused too much of a commotion, and at this moment, the warriors in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm were basically here to hunt for the underworld stones. Everyone looked at the disappearing divine light in shock. Under that divine light, the life souls in their bodies trembled slightly. What kind of life soul was that? Chapter 819. After helping Tang Ao communicate with the underworld life spirit, Mingdi's figure became much more illusory, as if it would collapse at any moment. In fact, Mingdi had indeed reached his limit. Mingdi looked at Tang Ao with a smile. You're not bad. You've really communicated with the underworld life spirit. Next, I'll lend you a helping hand. I'm about to enter samsara. As soon as Mingdi finished speaking, everything in the palace began to dissipate. These things were formed from Mingdi's will. Now that Mingdi's will was about to disappear, these things would naturally cease to exist. I have a close friend named Yun Xiaoyao, known as the Unfettered 3 Saints. He has learned many things in his life, but he has 3 unique skills. The first is crafting weapons, the second is arrays, and the third is swordsmanship. Mother was implicated by me and perished with me. I'll send you to his place of inheritance now. How much you can learn will depend on your luck. Let me warn you one last time. Before the magnetism finds you, do your best to increase your strength. Otherwise, not only will you lose your life, but your friends and family will also be affected. A spatial array appeared beneath Tang Ao's feet. Then, Tang Ao felt dizzy and his surroundings changed again. Judging by the thin underworld chi in the air, he was still in the Ming Di's secret realm. But Tang Ao didn't know where in the secret realm he was. Tens of thousands of miles away from the black-yellow continent, the magnetism Dao Lord, who had been meditating in the palace for 36,000 years, suddenly opened his eyes. The magnetism Dao Lord's eyes were like lightning. In an instant, his divine consciousness passed through countless realms. Just now, the magnetism Dao Lord had felt a fluctuation that he wanted to understand and was most afraid of. It was a somewhat cold underworld aura. Before he became a Dao Lord, he had an enemy who had a similar aura. That person was called Ming Di. He was sure that the fluctuation just now was related to the bloodline of Ming Di. In other words, someone had awakened the underworld life spirit that he had been trying so hard to awaken for the past 36,000 years. At the magnetism Dao Lord's level, he could communicate with the life spirits in the vast thousand domains at will. But his Dao did not need so many life spirits. Even if he became a Dao sovereign, he only had 9 Dao platforms, which meant 9 life spirits. He had awakened more than 9 life souls along the way. But in order to become a Dao master and achieve the Great Way, he had cut off the other life souls. This was a step that all warriors had to go through. As their cultivation got higher and higher, they would awaken more and more life spirits. However, after reaching the astral reaching realm and stepping into the yin-yang realm, they would have to cut off the extra life spirits and only nurture 9 life spirits. In the Dao Master realm, the 9 life spirits would form the 9 Dao platforms, thus becoming a Dao Master. For countless years, whether it was the 36 Realm Lords or the other 3 Dao Masters, it was the same. However, Hades' Emperor was the only one who retained an unknown number of life souls after reaching the celestial turbid realm. This was also the reason why proto-magnetic force wanted to take Hades' Emperor's body. Tang Ao's feet were steady as he arrived at another palace. Raising his head, Tang Ao saw the words 3 Saints' Ruins. Tang Ao was dumbfounded. He did not expect that after so many twists and turns, he would arrive at 3 Saints' Ruins so easily. Back then, Tang Ao had decided to find a way to visit 3 Saints' Ruins. He did not expect that Hades' Emperor would directly send him here. In the center of the ruins, there was a jade platform. On the jade platform sat a man in white robes. The man was wearing a plain white 7-star robe with wide sleeves. He had the charm of an immortal. Chapter 820. Back when Tang Ao was in Emperor Yulong's ruins, he saw how powerful Emperor Yulong was. However, Emperor Yulong's power was nothing compared to Hades' Emperor's. As long as Hades' Emperor willed it, he could destroy Emperor Yulong's consciousness at any time. Although Yun Xiaoyao had also fallen a long time ago, the aura from his body was equally terrifying. I already know why you're here. Since Hades' Emperor sent you here, it means that you're already recognized as his successor. Since Hades' Emperor has acknowledged you, there's no need for me to test you anymore. As soon as Yun Xiaoyao finished speaking, Tang Ao's consciousness appeared in a space shrouded in mist. This is my consciousness space. There's no concept of time in this space. No matter how long you've been here, it's only a moment in the outside world. I have 3 ultimate techniques. One is a tool, the second is a formation, and the third is a sword. Which one do you want to learn? Tang Ao said without hesitation. Since there's no concept of time in this space, please teach me all 3 techniques. Even if I can't learn them, it'll only take a moment. In the Magnetite Dao Palace, countless people in white appeared below the Great Hall after sensing Lord Magnetite's divine consciousness. The leader, a youth in white with a jade crown, asked, "I wonder what Master has summoned us here for." Lord Magnetite looked at the youth in white and said calmly, "The Earth Demon Realm is on the move now, but I've sensed the aura of the powerful Emperor Hades who once wreaked havoc in the true martial realm. The aura I've sensed is too far away from here, so I can't sense it. Everyone go and investigate. Lord Magnetite's words made by Yufei's face turned bitter. Master, if Emperor Hades is still alive, his realm would probably be on par with yours now. With what we've learned, I'm afraid we won't be able to find anything. You don't have to worry about that. Emperor Hades has been dead for many years. This aura was only emitted by a junior from a lower plane. It's just a lower realm, and even the strongest martial artist can't exceed the astral-reaching realm. You're a pinnacle yin-yang realm martial artist, and the rest of you are also at the yin-yang realm. Go ahead without worry. If there's no news in 3 months, come back immediately. You seem to be worried about something? Yin Xiaoyao asked Tang Ao as he taught Tang Ao how to forge weapons. Junior has accepted Senior Netherworld Emperor's inheritance. Senior Netherworld Emperor said that a powerful enemy of his would come looking for Junior. If I had more time to cultivate, I naturally wouldn't be afraid. However, I'm worried that that person will come looking for me soon. After Tang Ao finished speaking, Yin Xiaoyao smiled faintly and said, "You don't have to worry about this. The bound of universe is extremely far from the magnetite realm. After the bound of universe is broken, it will be even more difficult to find the bound of universe. I don't dare to guarantee anything else, but as long as you don't leave the Xianhuang world, you won't be in any danger within the next 10,000 years. Of course, I'm referring to the danger from lore magnetism." Tang Ao heaved a sigh of relief. Even the Netherworld Darch, who had been dead for many years, could easily crush him to death. As Netherworld Thearch's nemesis, Yuan Wu had cultivated for such a long time that he had reached a terrifying level. If the magnetism came to kill him now, then no matter what opportunity he obtained, it would be useless. Chapter 821. While Tang Ao was cultivating with Yun Xiaoyao in the divine consciousness space, 7 of the 8 major sects of the Bound of Universe and 5 of the 6 great clans of the Antiquity era had joined forces to put a bounty on Tang Ao's head. Under such circumstances, there was no one in the secret realm who did not know of Tang Ao. Tang Ao possessed tens of thousands of upper-grade and supreme-grade underworld stones. At the same time, Tang Ao also possessed the primordial sacred sky bow, the Shinon cauldron, and the Taiching mystic mirror. Later on, people said that they had seen Tang Ao's spiritual pet, which seemed to have used one of Emperor Yulong's ultimate techniques, the Emperor Yulong's Qi. This meant that Tang Ao had most likely obtained the Shinon Emperor's and Emperor Yulong's legacies. However, this was not the most shocking news. The fact that there were 5 Emperor's legacies in the secret realm was an open secret to the major forces. What was even more shocking was that Tang Ao had recently obtained the master of the secret realm, Emperor Yulong's legacy. Among the 5 emperors, Emperor Yulong was the strongest. Emperor Yulong's secret realm only existed because of the existence of Emperor Yulong's legacy. However, at this moment, the most precious thing in the secret realm had been obtained by someone else. Especially when they found out that Tang Ao was only a life and death realm first-stage warrior. Many warriors' eyes burned with passion. To possess the legacies of 3 emperors, it was hard to believe that Tang Ao had so many treasures on him. At this moment, only a small number of warriors were still searching for treasures in the secret realm. Most of the warriors were searching for Tang Ao in the Netherworld Sea. This was because when Tang Ao obtained Emperor Yulong's legacy, a powerful divine light from beyond the heavens had descended on the Netherworld Sea. Everyone speculated that Tang Ao was hiding somewhere in the Netherworld Sea. You said that Tang Ao is in this whirlpool. Is it true? The whirlpool that had been spewing underworld stones in the trench naturally stopped producing underworld stones after the disappearance of Emperor Yulong's will. Many people waited here for a long time, but when no underworld stones flew out of the whirlpool, they had no choice but to leave and look for opportunities elsewhere. There were many treasures in the secret realm. Even if they didn't search for treasures, it would be good to track Tang Ao's whereabouts. That's right. When I clashed with Tang Ao and I were both heavily injured. When I was unconscious, I personally saw Tang Ao summon the Shan Emperor and escape into the whirlpool. Yulong's Emperor Long's legacy. Emperor Ao's Long has Yulong, and Yu Tang. After Qin Yueshuang finished speaking, Xiahou Quantian looked towards Qi Xingzi. What does Brother Qi think? Qi Xingzi was the chief disciple of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect and a martial artist proficient in the power of space. Long, Yu's Qi was Long of Sekyang Ao, was Clan's Long, was Had Long, was Had Have Not Tian. Tang Ao's cultivation wasn't high, but he had countless tricks up his sleeves, so Qin Yueshuang had no choice but to invite Qi Xingzi to help. Qi Xingzi said indifferently, I also want to see how many heads and arms this Tang Ao, who is famous in the Netherworld Sea, has. All right, since that's the case, senior brothers, follow me down. Tang Ao didn't have much contact with refining weapons and formations. Tang Ao didn't know a thing about refining weapons, but Tang Ao knew a little about formations. However, after cultivating with Yuan Xiaoyao, Tang Ao knew that the three saints of Carefree were not undeserved. Whether it was refining weapons or formations, Yuan Xiaoyao was extremely proficient. Yuan Xiaoyao's achievements in these two areas were definitely not inferior to Shun Nong emperors in the Tao of Alchemy. Chapter 822. After reaching the 6th grade, Tang Ao did not continue to learn. Tang Ao did not want to learn how to set up formations, but the limitations of Tang Ao's cultivation base prevented Tang Ao from continuing to set up 7th grade formations. A 7th grade formation required a terrifying amount of soul power and spiritual power. Unless one was an astral-reaching realm martial artist, it was impossible to set up a 7th grade formation. At the moment, Tang Ao was already a 6th grade formation master and 6th grade spirit alchemist. In the entire black-yellow continent, he was already in existence that could be easily bullied. However, Tang Ao knew that his achievement was not even worth mentioning on a broader stage. Therefore, Tang Ao did not become arrogant. Instead, he followed Yin Xiaoyao and continued to learn crafting. In this world, spiritual weapons are divided into grades 1 to 9. However, due to the huge difference between a grade 6 spiritual weapon and a grade 7 spiritual weapon, under the discussions of many top-notch weapon refiners, they decided to divide spiritual weapons into grades 1 to 6. Spiritual weapons above grade 6 are known as divine weapons. Lower 7th grade spiritual weapons become 1st grade divine weapons, and so on, all the way up to 9th grade divine weapons. Therefore, the primordial sacred sky bow in your hand can also be considered a 9th grade pinnacle spiritual weapon. Yun Xiaoyao explained the common sense of crafting to Tang Ao calmly, but Tang Ao was astonished. Before this, Tang Ao had no idea that divine weapons were divided in this way. Yun Xiaoyao explained a lot of common sense about crafting to Tang Ao. Only when Tang Ao had a clear understanding of spiritual weapons did Yun Xiaoyao begin to teach Tang Ao how to craft weapons. I will first refine a 1st grade spiritual weapon for you to see. After you're able to refine a 1st grade spiritual weapon, I will teach you how to refine a 2nd grade spiritual weapon. I will teach you all the way until you become a 6th grade craftsman. As for a 1st grade divine weapon, since your cultivation base is too low, you are still unable to refine such a weapon. All right, watch carefully. Yin Xiaoyao summoned out a pale white flame. This flame is called the cold cloud flame, one of the strange flames in this world. This kind of flame seemed quiet, but it was actually abnormally violent and difficult to control. However, as long as he could control this cold cloud fire, he would be able to refine more smoothly. I'll first refine a complete grade 1 spirit weapon for you to see. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask me. Below the trench, the huge whirlpool was still spinning slowly. At this moment, there were 3 figures above the whirlpool. They were Qin Yueshuang and the other 2. Senior brothers, if you're ready, shall we go down now? In. Qi Xingzi and Xiahou Quantian both nodded. At the same time, an extremely obscure light flashed through their eyes. As for Qin Yueshuang, she nonchalantly smiled at the two of them. After that, she took out the primordial umbrella. The primordial umbrella shone brightly, enveloping the three of them. Qin Yueshuang activated the immemorial umbrella with all her might and rushed into the vortex. The sound of grinding teeth could be heard. It was the sound of the vortex and the primordial umbrella rubbing against each other. However, this vortex was much weaker than when Tang Ao first came down, so the three of them easily arrived at the spot where Tang Ao had landed. However, Tang Ao was no longer here. Tang Ao was now in the ruins of the Three Saints, learning how to refine weapons from Yin Xiaoyao. Tang Ao's talent in refining weapons was not bad, or rather, a first-grade spiritual weapon was not a challenge for Tang Ao. An hour later, Tang Ao had also successfully refined a first-grade spiritual dagger. Chapter 823. Time spent in cultivation was the least valuable. In the divine consciousness space, Tang Ao was still focused on learning the art of forging from Yin Xiaoyao. Through this period of cultivation, Tang Ao could already refine second-grade spirit weapons. Compared to learning array formations, Tang Ao was much slower in learning forging. Although Tang Ao was talented and had the legendary physique of the Nine Dragons Emperor J body. However, coming into contact with a new thing wasn't easy to grasp. Fortunately, Tang Ao had plenty of time in the spiritual space. Compared to Yin Xiaoyao's pale white flame, Tang Ao used a dark blue flame. This was the nether flame that Tang Ao had summoned from the netherworld life soul after communicating with the netherworld life soul. In the netherworld, there were many nether flames like this. There were strong and weak nether flames, and the strongest one was called the immortal nether flame. Previously, Tang Ao had thought that the immortal nether flame was stored at the top of the spirit pagoda. However, after awakening the underworld emperor life soul, Tang Ao understood that the immortal nether flame was also a nether flame summoned by underworld emperor. Now that underworld emperor had entered reincarnation, the nether flame he had summoned had also disappeared. Although Tang Ao was still unable to summon the immortal nether flame, it was more than enough to summon some ordinary nether flames. Below the huge whirlpool in the trench, Qin Yueshuang and the other two entered and discovered the palace not far away. This place has such dense nether chi. If we stay here for too long, I'm afraid our bodies will be corroded by the nether chi. As Qi Xingzi spoke, he vigilantly scanned his surroundings. After being in the underworld emperor's mystic realm for so long, Qi Xingzi had encountered many things. In the underworld emperor's mystic realm, countless experts had fallen. Among these fallen experts, some had left behind legacies for their descendants, while others have been waiting for a suitable body to possess for a long time. Let's go take a look at the palace, Xiahou Quangtian said as he led the way towards the palace. Behind Xiahou Quangtian, Qi Xingzi's eyes flashed. Looking at Xiahou Quangtian's back, Qi Xingzi hesitated for a moment but did not make a move. As Qi Xingzi hesitated, Xiahou Quangtian also raised his right palm slightly. As long as Qi Xingzi attacked him, he could guarantee that Qi Xingzi would be the one to die. Qin Yueshuang didn't seem to notice the difference between the two at all and continued to walk forward unhurriedly. Qin Yueshuang was naturally clear about Qi Xingzi and Xiahou Quangtian's movements. Although Tang Ao had many treasures on him, Xiahou Quangtian and Qi Xingzi had the intention of monopolizing them. In her previous battle with Tang Ao, she had yet to recover from her heavy injuries, so whether it was Xiahou Quangtian or Qi Xingzi, neither of them placed Qin Yueshuang in their eyes. After Emperor Hades disappeared, the palace was already extremely dilapidated. It was completely empty, as if someone had ransacked it. Qi Xingzi's eyes suddenly narrowed because he saw a teleportation array at the center of the palace. It was unknown where this teleportation array would teleport to, but Qi Xingzi knew that this teleportation array had not been constructed for a long time. Looks like Tang Ao really didn't die. He obtained quite a few benefits from Emperor Hades' palace, and then used the teleportation array to escape. Qi Xingzi looked at the broken teleportation array. No one knew what he was thinking. Chapter 824. After a short break, Tang Ao resumed his forging. The Unfettered Saints, a 9th-grade pinnacle formation master and a 9th-grade pinnacle craftsman. With such a master craftsman guiding him in forging, Tang Ao naturally did not dare to slack off. In fact, Tang Ao was already diligent enough. Ever since he entered the divine consciousness space, Tang Ao had never stopped cultivating. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Tang Ao's mind. He suddenly understood why he had failed earlier. The problem did not lie in the forging, but in his state of mind. With the guidance of a master like Yun Xiaoyao, Tang Ao had always hoped that his forging ability could improve by leaps and bounds. However, as the saying went, more haste, less speed. Under his persistent efforts, his forging ability had indeed improved continuously. However, as Yin Xiaoyao had said, whether it was refining pills, forging weapons, formations, or cultivation, they were all a process of cultivation and comprehension. It was a process of cultivating and comprehending at the same time. His ability in refining tools had indeed reached the level of a 3rd-grade craftsman, but his comprehension in the path of refining tools had not kept up. At this thought, Tang Ao immediately began forging a 1st-grade spiritual weapon. A sense of enlightenment welled up within him. When he was forging this 1st-grade spiritual weapon, Tang Ao felt as if he was in control of the entire situation. It was as if every change of the spiritual weapon during the forging process was within Tang Ao's control. At this point, Tang Ao also understood why Yun Xiaoyao had said that the spiritual weapon he forged was too rigid. Although the spiritual weapon was still an inanimate object, during the forging process, Tang Ao and the spiritual weapon had developed a telepathic connection. Whoosh! As the flames receded, an exquisite 3-foot blade appeared in front of Tang Ao. Tang Ao had forged this spiritual long sword countless times, but no matter how hard Tang Ao worked, he could only forge a 1st-grade superior spiritual weapon. Even though he could forge a 2nd-grade spiritual weapon, he still could not forge a 1st-grade special-class spiritual weapon. At this moment, the 3-feet-long verdant sword in Tang Ao's hand was a genuine 1st-grade special-class spiritual weapon. Although Tang Ao had only refined a 1st-grade special-class spiritual weapon, Tang Ao knew that he could already refine a 3rd-grade spiritual weapon. However, Tang Ao didn't leave to start refining a grade 3 spirit weapon. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and started regulating his breathing. Just now, he had a trace of enlightenment on refining, and Tang Ao had to spend some time to understand this feeling. In Ming Di's imperial palace, the teleportation array that had been destroyed due to the dissipation of Ming Di's was once again repaired by the Scarlet Star Bell. As the Scarlet Star Bell threw out array flags, the spatial teleportation array gradually revealed its original appearance. I've never seen this teleportation array before. Thankfully, the damage to this teleportation array is not too serious, so I can repair it to a certain extent. If that's the case, then even if Brother Qi repairs the teleportation array, the place will be teleported to will be different from where Tang Ao is. Xiahou Quantian frowned. The reason he had invited Qi Xingzi over was to prevent Tang Ao from using an escape talisman or a spatial teleportation array to escape. He hadn't expected that Tang Ao would use a spatial teleportation array to escape before they even met Tang Ao. Although we can't teleport to the same place as Tang Ao, we can teleport to somewhere near Tang Ao. With the 3 of us, as long as we get to where Tang Ao is, do you think we won't be able to find a Tang Ao? Qi Xingzi said casually. Chapter 825. In the spiritual consciousness space, a heavenly halberd floated quietly in Tang Ao's netherworld fire. This heavenly halberd was the first 4th-grade spiritual weapon that Tang Ao had refined. It was perfect in terms of smelting and plasticity. The next step was the most important one in the process of refining, which was to carve the inscription formation inside the spiritual weapon. Tang Ao's powerful soul power penetrated the outer layer of the heavenly halberd and reached the interior. Then, Tang Ao used his soul power to guide the spiritual energy to start building the inscription formation inside the heavenly halberd. Among spiritual weapons of the same grade, the more perfect the inscription formation was, the higher the grade, and the more powerful the spiritual weapon would be. This was Tang Ao's first time refining a fourth-grade spiritual weapon. Tang Ao did not have high expectations for himself. No matter what grade it was, with Tang Ao's full effort, it would be considered a success if he could complete the heavenly halberd. Although Tang Ao was not on the dark sea, Tang Ao could guess that there would be many people frantically searching for him. He had 3 treasures on him, and not long ago, he had obtained Emperor Hades' inheritance and attracted the 36 levels of divine light from beyond the heavens. It would not have mattered if he was a life and death realm cultivator at level 9. However, he was only at level 1. Naturally, he would attract the attention of many. Although Tang Ao could fight a life and death realm cultivator at level 5, if he used all his skills, it would be fine. However, those who wanted his treasures would not be limited to life and death realm cultivators at level 5. If it was 1 or 2, Tang Ao could still handle it. However, if there were 10 or 20 life and death realm cultivators attacking him at the same time, Tang Ao would not be able to escape unscathed. Thinking of this, Tang Ao had an idea. Why not refine some space jade talismans as a life-saving item? Master, how do I refine space jade talismans? Yin Xiaoyao was Tang Ao's teacher, and he had imparted knowledge and answer questions for Tang Ao. Therefore, Tang Ao did not continue to address Yin Xiaoyao as senior, but directly addressed him as master. If it's a spatial teleportation array, then a 4th-grade array can do it, but if it's a teleportation jade talisman, then it needs to be at least a 5th-grade artificer, an artificer who has a certain understanding of the power of space to be able to control it. A grade 5 spatial teleportation jade talisman could only teleport a distance of 1,000 miles. If you want to refine it as a life-saving treasure, you'll need to refine a space teleportation jade talisman of at least grade 6 or above. Yin Xiaoyao tossed a jade scroll to Tang Ao after he finished speaking. These are my insights into the Tao of puppets. There are also quite a few puppet refinement methods that I've collected. If you can refine a powerful puppet, it will be of some help to you in the future. As for the method to refine space jade talisman, it's in the inheritance that I've given you. Tang Ao scratched his head in embarrassment. Yin Xiaoyao's inheritance had been passed on to Tang Ao when he first taught Tang Ao how to refine weapons. However, Tang Ao had been learning to refine weapons step by step, and Tang Ao had not seen Yin Xiaoyao's inheritance in its entirety. With a thought, Tang Ao began to search for the contents of the space jade talisman in Yin Xiaoyao's inheritance. Chapter 826. Grade 5 Spatial Teleportation Jade Talisman. According to the grade, the teleportation distance is also different. A 5th grade, special class spatial teleportation talisman can teleport a distance of 1,000 miles, whereas an inferior 5th grade spatial teleportation talisman can only teleport a distance of 100 miles. Tang Ao carefully recalled the contents of the spatial teleportation talisman that Yin Xiaoyao had inherited. After pondering for a moment, Tang Ao decided not to refine the teleportation jade talisman. First of all, he was not a 5th grade craftsman yet. Secondly, Tang Ao's comprehension of the power of space was not different from that of ordinary people. The reason why Tang Ao had the confidence to refine the jade talisman despite having an average understanding of the power of space was because the legacy that Yin Xiaoyao had left behind was simply too powerful. It would not be difficult for anyone to achieve this, regardless of who received Yin Xiaoyao's inheritance. A spatial ripple suddenly appeared outside the Triple Saint ruins. Then, 3 figures appeared above the Netherworld Ocean. These 3 people were Qin Yueshuang and the others. The moment they appeared, Qin Yueshuang and the others were stunned. This was because the three of them were very familiar with this place. It could be said that the first batch of cultivators of the Netherworld Sea had come here before. Tang Ao actually came to the ruins of the Three Saints. Qi Xingzi was rather surprised. At the same time, he was secretly glad. If he had really repaired the spatial teleportation formation completely, it was very likely that he would be trapped in the Trinity Saints' ruins now. Everyone knew that the Triple Saints' ruins were extraordinary. Moreover, everyone knew that the Triple Saints' ruins were sealed by an extremely powerful hallucinatory formation. If it was just the periphery of the Triple Saints' ancient ruins, there would still be a chance for him to escape if he was a little more careful. However, once he entered the depths of the Triple Saints' ancient ruins, it would no longer be that easy to escape. In fact, up until now, not a single person who had entered the Triple Saint ruins had returned alive. Fortunately, senior brother Qi Xingzi didn't completely repair the teleportation array. Otherwise, we would definitely be trapped in the ruins of the Three Saints like Tang Ao. Qin Yueshuang also said with lingering fear. That's not necessarily the case. Judging from Tang Ao's actions, this Tang Ao doesn't seem like a reckless person. Since he dared to enter the Trinity Saints' ruins, he must have something to rely on. Other people might not be able to come out after entering, but that was not necessarily the case for Tang Ao. Brother Qi, why don't you set up a large trapping formation outside of this illusory formation and envelop the entire Trinity Saint ruins? At that time, no matter if Tang Ao uses the teleportation Jade Talisman or forcefully barges in, he won't be able to leave. Xiahou Quangtian looked at Qi Xingzi and said, Brother Xiahou underestimates Tang Ao and overestimates me. My array Dao is only at the level of a grade 5 array master. If the teleportation array in Mingdi's palace was created by Tang Ao, then Tang Ao's attainments in the array Dao would only be stronger than mine. How could I use a death trap array to trap him? Moreover, the materials needed to construct such a trap and kill array were not a small number. Although I have some wealth, it's not enough to set up this trap and kill array. Xiahou Quangtian waved his hand. Brother Qi, you've misunderstood me. Tang Ao is the public enemy of all the martial artists in Mingdi's mystic realm. As long as we spread the news, there will naturally be people willing to help. But if everyone comes here and traps Tang Ao in the future, how are we going to distribute the treasures on Tang Ao? Qi Xingzi neither objected nor agreed to Xiahou Quangtian's words. Instead, he asked calmly. Chapter 827. You have quite a number of enemies in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, Yin Xiaoyao said indifferently as he glanced at the crowd outside the Triple Saint ruins. Tang Ao did not know if Qin Yueshuang and the rest had found this place, so he replied helplessly, I don't have much of a grudge against them. I haven't even seen many of them before. It's just that I've obtained some treasures in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, and my level of cultivation isn't high. That's why these people are tempted. However, I'm afraid they're wrong to want to snatch something from my hands. Hearing Tang Ao's words, Yun Xiaoyao smiled faintly. The Underworld Emperor's will has disappeared, and the Underworld Emperor's secret realm is about to shatter. Even I can't hold on for long. After you become a 6th grade craftsman, the Underworld Emperor's secret realm will be completely destroyed. The Underworld Emperor's secret realm is about to disappear? Tang Ao was alarmed. Luo Cai, Tang He, Tang Yu, Dong Xinyi, and the others were still in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm. If the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm was destroyed, would they be in danger? Master, since the Underworld Emperor's secret realm was created by you, could you help me find a few people? Their levels of cultivation are too low, and I'm worried that they'll be in danger when the secret realm shatters. Of course. Yin Xiaoyao waved his hand, and a cloud-wreathed mirror appeared before Tang Ao. Inject your soul power into the cloud mirror, and you'll be able to control the whereabouts of everyone in the secret realm. Whether it's what happened before or what's happening now, the cloud mirror will show you everything. All right, Tang Ao did not waste any more time, and immediately sent his soul power into the cloud mirror. With a single thought, Luo Tsai's figure appeared in the cloud mirror. Sensing that Luo Tsai's cultivation had yet to reach the Spirit Sea realm, Tang Ao knew that this must be the scene when Luo Tsai first entered the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. Then, Tang Ao saw Luo Tsai and Kasahara Snow being pursued by the Dragonization Pavilion. Tang Ao's eyes were cold, and his fists were clenched tightly. Under the cloud mirror, Tang Ao had seen all of Luo Tsai's experiences in the Netherworld Emperor mystic domain. When he saw the Netherworld Emperor mountain range disappear, Tang Ao's heart suddenly tightened. Master, where do these teleportation portals lead to? After the Underworld Emperor mountain range disappeared, Tang Ao saw a huge space teleportation array form beneath the Underworld Emperor mountain range. As for the people in the Underworld Emperor mountain range, they were all sent out through the teleportation portal. I didn't set up this teleportation array, but I do know where it leads to. Judging from these fluctuations, this space transmission array must lead to the true martial world. But I don't know which world it leads to, or it leads to all 36 worlds. Although Yun Xiaoyao could see the destination of the portal, he was not the one who had created it. Therefore, Yun Xiaoyao did not know which of the 36 realms this spatial portal would lead to. Master, how does the cultivation base of the warriors of the true martial world compare to that of the bound of Yellow Continent? After seeing Luo Tsai being transported away by the space transmission array, Tang Ao's heart was in turmoil. However, Tang Ao also knew that the space transmission array had disappeared, and he would not be able to find Luo Tsai anywhere. Even the Underworld Emperor's secret realm was about to collapse. Chapter 828. Tang Ao knew that Yun Xiaoyao was comforting him. Tang Ao also understood that it was useless for him to be anxious now. According to Yun Xiaoyao, his meager strength would still be like an ant in the true force realm. He had a precious artifact with him now. Going there would be a death wish. Master, how can I get to the true force realm if I succeed in my cultivation in the future? There are 3 ways. First, many of the sects in the Black-Yellow continent have been passed down from the bound of universe era. There may be a space portal left in their sects that leads to the true force realm. Second, now that the Black-Yellow continent has been shattered, you may be able to tear space apart and reach the true force realm when you break through the astral reaching realm and reach the yin-yang realm. Third, if you can become a first-grade immortal array master and set up a space portal to the true force realm, you can also reach there. After listening, Tang Ao nodded with determination in his eyes. None of these 3 methods were easy for Tang Ao, but Tang Ao would go to the true force realm no matter what. Yun Xiaoyao continued, I hope you can use the second method to get to the true force realm. Once you reach the yin-yang realm, with your array skills, you'll have the ability to protect yourself in the true force realm. Otherwise, if your strength is insufficient and you meet people from the opposing faction of Hades Emperor in the true force realm, you will be dead for sure. This disciple will remember. Tang Ao bowed to Yun Xiaoyao and continued to forge the 5th grade spiritual weapon. Refining a grade 5 spiritual tool was not an easy task, but Tang Ao's willpower was incomparably firm. Even if there were many difficulties, Tang Ao would still crush them. Poof! The ghostly blue nether fire deepened, surrounding Tang Ao's body. At this moment, Tang Ao was like a god of the netherworld, controlling the powerful nether fire. A rock half the height of a man slowly melted in the nether fire, and a silvery liquid sizzled in the nether fire. The impurities in the liquid were burned into nothingness by the netherworld flame, and the liquid became even purer. The shape of the green dragon crescent blade gradually solidified in the flames, and a rumbling sound came from the blade. Tang Ao's tyrannical soul power penetrated the inside of the green dragon crescent moon blade, and then Tang Ao carved a series of incomparably complicated inscription arrays on the inside of the green dragon crescent moon blade. These inscription formations flashed and disappeared, hidden in the green dragon crescent blade. as Tang Ao continued to carve inscription arrays on the Green Dragon Crescent Moon Saber. The Green Dragon Crescent Moon Saber trembled more and more. Finally, at a certain moment, chi, a silver-white blade, radiance shot out from the tip of the saber, leaving a shallow mark in the air. Although this trace disappeared quickly, Tang Ao still caught it clearly. Just now, he used a 6th-grade inscription formation to inscribe on the inside of a 5th-grade spiritual weapon. The result showed that its power was indeed amazing. After refining grade 5 spirit weapons for a period of time, Tang Ao started to refine grade 6 spirit weapons. Under Yun Xiaoyao's guidance, grade 6 spirit weapons were not too much of a challenge for Tang Ao. After becoming a grade 6 spirit weapon master, Tang Ao started to refine teleportation jade talismans. After Tang Ao refined 2 special grade teleportation jade talismans and an inferior grade teleportation jade talisman, Yin Xiaoyao's deific consciousness space began to flicker. Time's up, and I'm at my limit. I'll send you out now. Yin Xiaoyao's voice was equally indifferent. It seemed that his state of mind was not affected by the fact that his spirit was about to be destroyed. Chapter 829. Yun Xiaoyao was taken aback when he heard Tang Ao's words. My Tao foundation has been destroyed. Other than reincarnation, there's no other way. However, we should have a chance to meet again in less than 10,000 years. Now that the Emperor Hades' secret realm is about to collapse, I'll send you out. Thank you, Master. Tang Ao didn't say anything else and only bowed. With a wave of Yun Xiaoyao's hand, a spatial teleportation formation appeared beneath Tang Ao's feet. With a blinding flash of white light, a forceful wave of space rippled out, and Tang Ao disappeared from Emperor Hades' space. Outside the Trinity Saints' ruins, Qin Yueshuang and the other 2 looked at the collapsing space in shock. Qin Yueshuang said hatefully, "Looks like Tang Ao has indeed obtained Emperor Hades' inheritance. The Emperor Hades' secret realm has completely collapsed after losing Emperor Hades' will. Damn it, if the secret realm collapses, Tang Ao will be able to escape. This way, the treasures on Tang Ao will be even less of a concern," Qi Xingzi said through gritted teeth. Although he looked like this on the surface, Qi Xingzi was overjoyed. This was because he felt a strong spatial ripple from the Trinity Saints' ruins just now. He had already marked that spatial ripple. Qi Xingzi guessed that the person who could use the teleportation formation at this time had to be Tang Ao. Although Qi Xingzi felt that Tang Ao's current formation skills should be slightly higher than his, Tang Ao's cultivation was still there. Once he caught up to Tang Ao, he would definitely die, and the treasures on Tang Ao would naturally all fall into his pocket. He was also very confident that he could catch up to Tang Ao. Surprisingly, Xiahou Quangtian didn't say anything at this time, but his expression was very ugly. Since I can't find Tang Ao, I'll take my leave first. The Emperor Hades' secret realm was about to collapse, and the treasures that had yet to be explored would no longer exist in the future. Moreover, when the secret realm collapsed, many treasures hidden in the dark would also emerge. At this moment, the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm was in a state of chaos. Many martial artists had used various methods to escape, but only a small portion of them remained. Most of the martial artists were fighting for the treasures that had suddenly appeared. Some of the stronger martial artists even began to kill others to snatch their treasures. The Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm was in an unprecedented state of chaos. Kacha! Kacha! As everyone was fighting over the treasures, the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm suddenly released a burst of white light, and the crisp sound of space shattering rang out. Following which, everyone in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm felt their surroundings change. Everyone appeared in a desolate desert. What is this place? The temperature here is frighteningly high. Everyone from a Netherworld Emperor mystic realm is here. Where's that Tang Ao? Yeah, where's Tang Ao? Everyone, quickly find Tang Ao. While everyone was looking for Tang Ao's figure appeared in a place hundreds of miles away. Tang Ao's feet were steady as he stepped on the yellow sand. Looking around, this space was also vast and boundless. However, other than yellow sand, there were only rocks and some strange vegetation. Tang Ao didn't sense any array formation fluctuations in this space, so Tang Ao knew that this wasn't a mystic realm, but an ordinary place. It was just that Tang Ao had been training in the black-yellow continent for a long time. Tang Ao had basically been to all the places in the black-yellow continent, but Tang Ao had never been to this place. I don't know if it's because I've stayed in the Netherworld Emperor mystic realm for too long, but the sunlight here seems to be exceptionally hot. Chapter 830. This place was a little strange, and it was not a good place. After observing for a while, Tang Ao made an evaluation of the area. However, as Tang Ao had never been here before and had never heard of such a place in the black-yellow continent, he did not know how to leave at the moment. Once Qi Xingzi left the Netherworld Emperor mystic realm, he quickly separated himself from the crowd. After arriving at a remote place, Qi Xingzi used his soul power to scan the surroundings several times. After confirming that there was no one around, Qi Xingzi quickly threw out several array flags. As the array flags fell one by one, an array formation slowly took shape. Qi Xingzi threw a pile of spirit stones into the formation. Immediately, an influence spread out from the formation. This image was just the fluctuation of a space formation in the Gobi Desert and the figure of Tang Ao when he appeared. Apart from that, there was nothing else. However, Qi Xingzi was overjoyed when he saw it, because he was sure that the spatial fluctuation was released by the spatial teleportation array that he had marked not long ago. The items on Tang Ao's body belong to me now. After saying that, Qi Xingzi found a direction and flew over. After Qi Xingzi left, a huge rock behind Qi Xingzi slowly transformed into two figures. It was unknown how long these two figures had been here, to the extent that they had completely merged with the surrounding stones. In fact, they hadn't been here for long. The reason why they had the same aura as the rock was because they had cast a special life soul. Big brother, I didn't expect this guy to have such ability. He actually found the whereabouts of Tang Ao. This idiot is the head disciple of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect, Qi Xingzi. You shouldn't underestimate him. Big brother. So what if he's the chief disciple? That idiot still hasn't discovered our whereabouts. As for Tang Ao's location, we found out. Let's go. We brothers have taken everything from Tang Ao and Qi Xingzi. With a ripple in the air, Xiahou Quantian's figure appeared. Xiahou Quantian had long known that there was something wrong with Qi Xingzi, so after sensing that Qi Xingzi had left, Xiahou Quantian followed. As expected, Qi Xingzi was actually able to find Tang Ao's location. However, Xiahou Quantian didn't immediately chase after him. Instead, he calmly looked ahead. All of you come out. Do you think you can hide it from me, Xiahou Quantian? There was no one around, but after Xiahou Quantian finished speaking, he sat down. Boom! A bolt of golden lightning struck down, shattering a boulder beside Xiahou Quantian. Smoke and dust filled the sky, covering Xiahou Quantian's figure. Outside the smoke and dust, several figures also appeared. These people were all above the fourth layer of life and death realm. There were not many of them, but they were powerful enough. However, when the smoke and dust dispersed, the figures of Xiahou Quantian and a golden-robed man appeared. A thunder staff was pressed against Xiahou Quantian's throat, while Xiahou Quantian's spear was pointed at the golden-robed man's heart. The thunder python has improved. Xiahou Quantian retracted his spear and said indifferently, Xiahou, you're becoming more and more useless. If we were to fight to the death, I would have already taken your head. The thunder python also kept his thunder staff. His goal was Tang Ao, and fighting with Xiahou Quantian was just a spur of the moment. Chapter 831. Under the influence of Tang Ao's soul power, the two figures merged with the entire desert. When the two moved, it was as if the sand in the desert was flowing. Fortunately, Tang Ao's soul power was extremely strong. Otherwise, It would have been very difficult to discover the two in such a situation. Moreover, Tang Ao noticed that the two were rushing in his direction. They don't come with good intentions. An azure blue light flickered in Tang Ao's eyes, and 36 snow patterns appeared in Tang Ao's eyes. Under the sky pole eyes, everything became clear in an instant. Tang Ao could clearly see the two people who had fused with the sand. They were two similar-looking youths. Their cultivation was not high, but they were both at the third level of the life and death realm. Secondly, Tang Ao also noticed that there was a person following behind them. Seeing this person, Tang Ao felt that he looked familiar. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao suddenly remembered who this person was. Tang Ao had not seen this person in person before, but he had seen his image. Heavenly Star, Sacred Sect's chief disciple, Qi Xingzi. Moreover, Tang Ao also saw a familiar person behind Qi Xingzi. At the entrance of the underworld Emperor Mystic Realm, Tang Ao had been tricked by this person, but Tang Ao had not seen this person since. This person was Qing Fengyin, who had set up the hurricane array to trap Tang Ao and the others. Now, that Qing Fengyin was at the fourth level of the life and death realm, he seemed to have had a lot of opportunities in the underworld Emperor Mystic Realm. If one were to talk about the biggest harvest in the underworld Emperor Mystic Realm, it would naturally be Tang Ao. Tang Ao had obtained the inheritance of 3 great emperors, Shenong Emperor, Underworld Emperor, and the 3 unfettered sages. Tang Yu had also obtained the inheritance of Empress Yulong. Tang Ao alone had obtained the inheritance of 4 great emperors. His luck was already very heaven-defying. Unfortunately, Tang Ao had missed the Spirit Pagoda. When he had found a large pile of underworld stones, he had used up all the underworld stones because of the advancement of the 9 dragons Emperor's Jade Body. Therefore, Tang Ao's current cultivation was still quite lacking compared to these people. However, if it's just these 4 people, Tang Ao wouldn't be bothered at all. Right now, although Tang Ao's cultivation was only at the first level of the life and death realm, with the help of the primordial sacred heavenly bow, Tang Ao felt that he could even instantly kill a powerhouse like Qing Fengyin. It was just that Tang Ao overestimated himself this time, and also underestimated Qing Fengyin. There were countless opportunities in the netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm. Tang Ao had obtained quite a few opportunities, but Qing Fengyin also had his own opportunities. Bang! A rock beside Tang Ao suddenly exploded. Immediately, a broadsword slashed towards Tang Ao's head. Tang Ao retreated and avoided this attack. But at this moment, another broadsword slashed at Tang Ao's waist from behind. As Tang Ao retreated, it wasn't that easy to avoid this broadsword. Interesting. As Tang Ao spoke, his body flashed with a golden light. The battle sage bone life soul instantly attached to his body. When an incomparably sharp blade collided with the battle sage bone life soul, there was only a series of sparks on the battle sage bone life soul. Big brother, this Tang Ao has such a hard shell. After missing his attack, this person immediately retreated and instantly merged with the surrounding scenery. As for the other person, he was still standing not far away from Tang Ao, confronting Tang Ao. However, he didn't take the initiative to attack. He just stared at Tang Ao, as if waiting and looking for an opportunity. But whether he was waiting or waiting for an ordinary opportunity, Tang Ao wouldn't drag it out with him. Tang Ao didn't know if these 2 people knew that they were being followed, but Tang Ao knew that the 2 guys behind them were even more difficult to deal with. If he didn't deal with the 2 people in front of him as soon as possible, it would be troublesome if he had to fight 1 against 4. Chapter 832. The corner of Tang Ao's mouth flashed a smile. These 2 people's ability to hide themselves was not bad, but under the sky polar eyes, this kind of concealment was no different from not having any concealment at all. When this person's long saber stabbed towards Tang Ao's back, Tang Ao's green lotus sword soul also bloomed in his eyes. A green sword lotus suddenly appeared in front of this person, and then he felt a heat on his neck, and the surrounding scenery began to spin. A head rolled on the ground and was quickly covered by the yellow sand. Second brother. You kill my second brother. I want you dead. Poochie, before his saber could reach Tang Ao, Tang Ao's green lotus sword's soul also bloomed behind him. A trace of blood on the green lotus sword slid down to the tip of the sword. The green lotus sword shook, and the blood was flung away, blooming a flower of blood in the air. Apart from their concealment skills, these two people were only average in terms of martial skills, life spirits, and other aspects. However, these two people were ruthless enough. If Tang Ao did not have the sky-polar eyes, it would not be easy to deal with these two people. With a wave of his hand, the two people's storage rings were collected by Tang Ao. These warriors had stayed in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm for more than 2 years, and they more or less had some good things on them. Clap, clap, clap. A burst of applause came, and then Qi Xingzi's figure also appeared. Wonderful, wonderful. These sure brothers killed countless people in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, and now they were killed as soon as they left the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. Sure enough, the heavens are good at reincarnation. Who will the heavens forgive? Seeing Qi Xingzi appear, Tang Ao was not surprised at all. What really surprised Tang Ao was that Qing Fengyin, who had been following Qi Xingzi, actually did not follow at this moment. Qing Fengyin was killed by you. Qi Xingzi's expression changed. You really knew that I found your location. Speaking until here, Qi Xingzi paused and then continued. I knew that Qing Fengyin was following me, but I don't know why. When I was about to come here, that guy slipped away. Originally, I wanted to join forces with him, but it's really a pity. You should have waited for him, Tang Ao said abruptly. Why? Qi Xingzi was not in a hurry to make a move, because when Tang Ao and the Shi brothers were fighting, Qi Xingzi had set up a formation in the surroundings. He was not worried that Tang Ao could escape from him, because if you're alone, you'll die a horrible death. Tang Ao was a peak 6th grade array master, Qing Fengyin's 5th grade trap array. Tang Ao really did not put in his eyes. I wonder if your abilities are as powerful as your mouth, Qi Xingzi said as nearly 20 life souls instantly appeared. The life souls that Qi Xingzi communicated with were all stars. At that moment, when Qi Xingzi summoned his life soul, the sky above the space instantly looked like a starry sky. Whoosh! A star life soul surrounded by flames whizzed towards Tang Ao under the control of Qi Xingzi. Without hesitation, Tang Ao took out the Shinon cauldron and retreated. While retreating, the primordial sacred heaven bow also appeared in Tang Ao's hand, and a Shintian arrow also locked onto Qi Xingzi. Clang! After the flaming star hit the Shinon cauldron, a loud noise came from the Shinon cauldron. However, that wasn't the end. After the loud bang, Qi Xingzi's remaining star life souls also whizzed towards the Shinon cauldron like meteorites falling from the sky, wanting to completely annihilate the Shinon cauldron. Chapter 833. However, that was all it could do. At that moment, Tang Ao released his hand, and the mysterious sky arrow that had already locked onto Qi Xingzi shot towards him. There was a sharp whistling sound in the space as the mysterious sky arrow and the star life soul that Qi Xingzi had hurriedly summoned collided. The mysterious sky arrow was extremely powerful. The 23rd heaven life soul was easily shattered by the mysterious sky arrow. Then, the mysterious sky arrow shot towards Qi Xingzi's forehead without losing any momentum. Qi Xingzi looked at the arrow in disbelief. Tang Ao had underestimated him, and he had also underestimated Tang Ao. Or rather, he had underestimated Tang Ao's primordial sacred sky bow. The 23rd heaven life soul was actually unable to withstand a single blow from the primordial sacred sky bow. However, with the obstruction of a life soul, Qi Xingzi also avoided the mysterious sky arrow's killing blow in that short interval. Poof! The mysterious sky arrow penetrated Qi Xingzi's figure, but no blood seeped out. Qi Xingzi's figure slowly dissipated after a while. Tang Ao raised his eyebrows. Phantom shift. How nostalgic. This secret technique was the signature technique of a sworn enemy of Tang Ao's in his previous life. He didn't expect that Tang Ao would see this secret technique again after so many years. Although Qi Xingzi avoided Tang Ao's killing blow, he was also extremely shocked after hearing Tang Ao's words. He had discovered this secret technique in one of the ruins of the sect. Unless it was a life-and-death crisis, he would never use this secret technique. This was his trump card. Those who had seen this secret technique, apart from Tang Ao, had all been killed by him. However, what Qi Xingzi didn't expect was that Tang Ao actually recognized his secret technique. Since you know this secret technique, all the more I can't let you live. You can only teleport once, yet you dare to say such big words. Tang Ao instantly released 9 arrows as he spoke. At the same time, the Green Lotus Sword soul also surrounded Qi Xingzi. Qi Xingzi waved his hands, and the 5 stars shone brightly. A 5-colored light screen poured down from the sky, surrounding Qi Xingzi. When an incomparably sharp, profound heaven arrow hit the barrier of light, it was as if it had hit cotton and was continuously slowed down. In the end, when it pierced through the barrier of light and arrived in front of Qi Xingzi, the profound heaven arrow's power was completely exhausted and it slowly disappeared. Starfall. After blocking the profound heaven arrow, Qi Xingzi pointed with his finger, and stars smashed towards Tang Ao. This time, Tang Ao did not use the Shinnon Cauldron to resist. Instead, he retreated. Star explosion. The moment Tang Ao retreated, all the whistling stars exploded. The aftermath of the explosion sent Tang Ao flying. However, before Qi Xingzi could be complacent, a profound heaven arrow that was dozens of times more powerful than before whistled toward him. It was like a shooting star cutting through the sky, like a comet destroying the earth. Crack! Crack! The 5-colored light screen that had blocked many profound heaven arrows before was shattered by this arrow. Then, the profound heaven arrow did not slow down at all, and it pierced through Qi Xingzi's shoulder blade. Qi Xingzi's expression changed greatly. After this arrow, he completely lost feeling on the left side of his body. Qi Xingzi did not dare to stay any longer. This time he was too careless. Knowing that someone was following him, he still came to find Tang Ao. He wanted to kill Tang Ao quickly. Chapter 834. You want to leave? Not so easy. The Green Lotus Sword soul that had been hiding in the dark suddenly burst out and slashed at the white light surrounding Qi Xingzi. 7 Green Lotus swords slashed past, and Qi Xingzi's scream rang out. However, Tang Ao didn't expect Qi Xingzi to be so decisive and actually cut off his arm to teleport away at the last moment. Qi Xingzi's scream just now was from when he cut off his arm. However, the Green Lotus Sword soul didn't cut him. In order to teleport away quickly, he cut off his left arm that wasn't wrapped in the Jade Talisman. Tang Ao was a bit disappointed. If Qi Xingzi had lost his right arm, he could still get his storage ring. However, Qi Xingzi had lost his left arm, so Tang Ao wouldn't have any spoils of war. After fighting with Qi Xingzi for so long, Tang Ao's spirit force and soul power were both somewhat exhausted. When Tang Ao really wanted to sit down and rest, Tang Ao's heart suddenly tightened. Then, Tang Ao's figure flickered and a Jade Talisman appeared in his hand. Before Tang Ao could crush the Jade Talisman, a thunder staff smashed towards Tang Ao's back. Tang Ao's soul power also sensed the people around him. At this moment, there were already several figures around him. There weren't many people, but they were all experts, especially the person attacking his back. Tang Ao felt the threat of death from him. However, Tang Ao just casually took out the Shinnon Cauldron and crushed the Jade Talisman in his hand. After crushing the Jade Talisman, Tang Ao's expression changed. This space was actually sealed. There was no way to use the spatial Jade Talisman to leave. Clang! The Thunder Staff struck the Shinnon Cauldron and Thunder Python's figure also retreated. Luo He, you're too slow. If I didn't stop this kid at the crucial moment, his treasures would have nothing to do with us. Thunder Python retreated into the crowd and looked at Luo, he who was slowly walking over. Treasures? I'm not interested. I heard that he and Luo Tsai are very close. I just want his head. Luo He's expression was very calm. Among the people who came, Luo He's cultivation was not the highest. However, when Luo He walked over, the few of them subconsciously distanced themselves from her. You're called Tang Ao, right? Are you prepared to die? Luo He's tone was indifferent, as though she could kill Tang Ao with a wave of her hand. I'm ready. I'm ready to die from laughter. Facing these people, Tang Ao knew that he had a slim chance of survival. He could vaguely recognize these people. They were from the 6 great clans of the primordial era, Lei Meng of the Lei clan, Luo, he of the Luo clan, and Xiahou Quantian of the Xiahou clan. They were Huang He, Qin Yueshuang, and Qing Fengyin, who hadn't shown up just now. There was also a young man wearing alchemy clothes. His name was Yao Di, and he was also an extremely powerful figure. That's an interesting way to die. Luo took a step forward as she spoke. Although it was just one step, everyone could hear the sound of surging water. In Tang Ao's consciousness, a silver river appeared as if it wanted to crush him. With a thought, Tang Ao activated the ancient god moves the heavens art. Following that, 2 pillars of water rose from Tang Ao's spiritual sea and soul sea. These 2 pillars of water slowly merged together. Suddenly, the 2 pillars of water fiercely swelled, moving against the silver river and colliding with it. Tang Ao and Luo He both coughed up a mouthful of blood. Luo He looked at Tang Ao in shock. If you don't die within 300 breaths, I'll let you go. Chapter 835. Suddenly, the profound heaven arrows rained down like a torrential rain, enveloping everyone in it. At the same time, the aura of the mysterious sky arrow in Tang Ao's hand continued to rise. It wasn't just Luo He who was locked onto by the mysterious sky arrow. Even the people around Luo, he could feel the cold, killing intent coming from the mysterious sky arrow. As Qin Yueshuang took out the primordial origin umbrella to block the arrow rain, she glanced at Tang Ao and wondered if she could block this arrow if she was the one facing it. Tang Ao was still slowly drawing the primordial sacred sky bow. It wasn't that he didn't want to be fast, but once the primordial sacred sky bow reached a certain level, the amount of spiritual power and soul power required to draw it an inch was extremely terrifying. 2 tornadoes had already formed in Tang Ao's soul and soul sea, and these 2 tornadoes were continuously gathering towards the primordial sacred sky bow. At this moment, Huang He was blocking the arrow rain by Luo He's side. Feeling the increasingly sharp aura of the primordial sacred sky bow, Huang He's body flashed with a blood-red light, and he appeared at the back of the crowd. At the same time, Xiahou Quantian also moved. It wasn't just Xiahou Quantian. Qing Fengyin and the Thunder Python also moved. However, the 3 of them were moving towards Tang Ao. Instead of retreating, they advanced and instantly arrived beside Tang Ao. At this moment, the primordial sacred sky bow had no choice but to release the arrow. Tang Ao had no way of dodging. It could be said that Xiahou Quantian had grasped a very good opportunity this time. He was also gambling. He was gambling that even if Tang Ao used the primordial sacred sky bow to deal with him, he would still be able to kill Tang Ao first. In reality, he was wrong, but his decision was correct. At this moment, the primordial sacred sky bow's aura had already locked onto Luo He. Even if Tang Ao wanted to use the primordial sacred sky bow to deal with him, he wouldn't be able to. Even if Tang Ao forcefully put away the primordial sacred sky bow and escaped, he would still suffer the backlash of the primordial sacred sky bow. How strong the primordial sacred sky bow was how strong its backlash was. Seeing Xiahou Quantian and the other 2 attacking, Tang Ao sighed helplessly. Originally, Tang Ao had planned to kill Luo He with an arrow and then used the spatial escape talisman to escape. However, although he could kill Luo He with an arrow, he couldn't use the spatial escape talisman. Although he could kill Luo He with an arrow, he couldn't use the spatial escape talisman to escape. However, Tang Ao was a person who would never give up until the very last moment. Knowing that there was only a slim chance of survival, Tang Ao did not hesitate to fire the profound heaven arrow. Thou sky star, star and time, time and time, and end. The dragon bow, dragon, and appeared. Is this the power of the primordial sacred sky bow? To be able to display such power in the hands of first layer life and death realm brat, this primordial sacred sky bow is mine. Kill Tang Ao first. It was rare that Xiahou Quantian didn't argue with the thunder python. After the mysterious sky arrow was shot, Xiahou Quantian's spear pierced through Tang Ao's right shoulder. Xiahou Quantian then pulled out his spear with lightning speed and stabbed towards Tang Ao's forehead. However, at this time, Tang Ao had also caught his breath. With a wave of his hand, Tang Ao took out the Shinnong cauldron. Xiahou Quantian's spear stabbed into the Shinnong emperor. Xiahou Quantian's arm went numb, while Tang Ao spat out a mouthful of blood from the recoil of the Shinnong cauldron. At this time, Tang Ao's mysterious sky arrow also arrived in front of Luo He. Luo He's eyes narrowed, and she threw out an ancient scroll. The mysterious sky arrow, which possessed the power to destroy the heavens and earth, clashed with Luo He's ancient scroll. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.